the Bronx. Game 3 of a 4-game series. The Yankees have grabbed the first 2. Carlos is carrying the Bombers. On the other side, it's win. Now, it's time to make an impact in the series and in the West for the Halos. So spend the evening with us as we spend time with legendary sluggers, one of the game's hardest throwers, and this Jersey boy who plays at a level that very few have reached. So there you have it. It's the Angels and the Yankees on MLB Plus right now.
The New York rain showers have gone away, and it's a perfect thing, isn't it? You can dream on a field like that under the watchful eye of Yankee Stadium on the eve of Major League Baseball's amateur draft. Dream that someday folks will stand in line at Gate 4 to pay to watch you play in Yankee Stadium. We're excited to watch them play and do so tonight on MLB Plus. It's MLB.com StatCast presentation of the Angels going toe-to-toe with the Yankees. It's presented by T-Mobile. Hi there, folks, from the Chelsea studios. Glad to have you with us. Our MLB.com presentation of this great show. Mike Pizziello, MLB.com stats and information expert. My name is Darren Sutton, and we get our insights from former Major Leaguer Fernando Perez. When we take a look at our pitching matchup tonight, it's intriguing to say the least, as both make their 12th starts of the year. Jared Weaver and Nathan Eovaldi going toe-to-toe. And when you look at the two of them, a 5.18 ERA for Weaver. He has struggled this year. A 4.09 for Eovaldi, but he's been better, a sub-3 in his last 6. But, Mike, they're truly a study of opposites when you really look inside of how they get the ball out of their hands.
It is all about velocity. We're going to talk about that a lot tonight because you really can't overstate it. You look at Eovaldi, the only starting pitcher who throws harder is Noah Syndergaard. You look at Weaver, the only starting pitchers who throw more softly are a pair of knuckleballs. And it's really a huge difference when you compare these guys. You can see the fastballs and changeups there. If you look at Jared Weaver, it's really going to be interesting to see how he survives in Yankee Stadium tonight. We've seen that velocity drop and drop and drop for about 5 or 6 years. He's really having the worst year of his career, and I think the only reason he's still in that rotation is because the Angels don't have anybody else to replace him with until everybody gets healthy. You look at Eovaldi, he's got that great fastball, doesn't have a lot of movement on it, so what's really been a key for him is the last 2 years. He's included this splitter. Split finger's been a big key for him, and I think we're going to see it a lot tonight.
All right, so Fernando, when the velocity drops, that means you can't drop the baseball. When you're hitting bats, that means the guys behind you have to be doing the work. You haven't seen enough of that?
Not so much. I mean, the hallmarks, obviously, of a Socia team is good defense, good pitching, good catching. Saw some ugly things yesterday. Escobar picked up what should have been an easy double play. He fails to remember how many outs there are and doesn't record that double play. A run scores, and it ends up being a pretty close game. This is a team that really can't afford lapses like that. So if they're going to do anything, which obviously it does not look great for them, they're going to have to turn it around. And I was in the clubhouse today. You could hear a pin drop. I think that we can expect them to be motivated.
All right, some great writers and insiders out at the ballpark. For MLB.com, Alden Gonzalez, who covers the Angels, Anthony Castorvence, who covers the Yankees, and Brian Hoke is out there. He will be roaming, thanks to our good folks with T-Mobile. And you will be joining us. We certainly hope so. And for more on that, our social media guru, Ashley Chavez.
Ooh,
Ashley, you like that title? How do folks come in with us?
Well, yes, I love the title, first off.
Good.
And of course, we want you to be involved, as Darren was saying. Make sure to send us your questions, comments, and photos on Twitter or Instagram using hashtag MLB+. We'll pick the good ones and we'll put them on the show and talk about them. Guys?
All right, we are looking forward to that. Be involved. Again, it rained all day. It looks beautiful at the ballpark. Since 2010, the Yanks are 28-19 against the Angels. So what is StatCast? We're going to introduce it to you right now.
Several years of research and development were realized in 2014 with the debut of MLB.com StatCast, the first ever reliable measurement of every play on a baseball field. Pioneered by MLB Advanced Media and debuted with prototypes at the 2014 All-Star Game, League Championship Series, and World Series, StatCast's roots can be traced back roughly a decade earlier to MLBAM's introduction of pitch tracking. Pitch tracking delivered a never-before-seen wealth of detailed information regarding every pitch thrown in the major leagues. Though a bold move at the time, today, pitch tracking technology is ubiquitous throughout broadcast television and baseball's digital products. But despite the data compiled on pitching, never before have there been reliable defensive statistics. The goal with StatCast was to leverage the technology to ensure that defense could be quantified and that a more complete picture of our game be made available to fans. To that end, all 30 ballparks have been outfitted with 2 distinctly different but collaborative technologies to allow for the data capture, optical tracking, and radar tracking. High-definition video camera arrays spaced 15 meters apart to capture stereoscopic video, and a 3D Doppler radar system which captures 2,000 samples per second of the entire baseball field. By marrying the data from each of these systems, it is now possible to scientifically quantify the skills and talents of players on the field using new player performance metrics.
When the lights come on, everybody screaming, lighters in the sky, yeah, everybody singing, every word to every song of the girl they're taking home tonight. When the lights come on, everybody screaming, lighters in the sky, yeah, everybody singing, every word to every song of the girl they're taking home tonight. When the lights come on.
Jason Aldean getting us ready for baseball. The Angels and the New York Yankees. It is gorgeous, and you love it when the city gets a good shower, and that's what happened. It was a little bit slower getting around, but a lineup for the Angels, they hope at the top. And at the bottom, which may be a surprise, isn't slow getting around. Let's talk about Yunel Escobar at the top, a 356 on base this year. Cole Calhoun is the constant overachiever. Mike Trout isn't, one of the best players in the game. He's got 12 long balls this year. Pujols has the same number. Then a lot of guys you may be learning for the first time. Jeffrey Marte, we know veteran Johnny Giavotella. Rafael Ortega is left. Perez is behind the plate, and Gregorio Petit as they wait for Andrelton Simmons to get healthy. Why are you highlighting Cole Calhoun?
Cole Calhoun, I think, is one of the most underrated players in baseball. His exit velocity went up by 3 miles an hour. He's actually one of the probably 5 or 6 or so best right fielders in baseball. And, you know, his name never really comes up in that context. So he's a guy who's really had a good season. He's a good outfielder. But if you look at that lineup, notice that only 2 lefties in that lineup. And there's no lefties on the bench. They only have 2 lefties at their disposal, and that's a problem because Eovaldi actually gets kind of hit hard by lefties, and they just don't have anyone they can put in there today.
Eovaldi is completing his warm-up tosses. His 12th start of the year, he's got 6 wins, he's got 2 losses, he's got an ERA of just a tick over 4, and this is how he does it. You were telling us the big key for him, and we'll get your perspective on why it makes a difference. But first, 30% of those split-finger fastballs.
Yeah, everybody talks about Eovaldi, and it's that four-seam fastball because he throws it so hard, and you're absolutely right, but it doesn't work. It doesn't have unique spin rate. It's too straight. It can hit hard. So last year he started using the split-finger fastball. This year he's using a little more. I asked him about it in the locker room a couple weeks ago, and he said, that's my out pitch. I really like it. And you're going to see this game. He's going to get a lot of swings and misses on it, and that makes that high-velocity fastball play up even more.
Fernando, he's commanding it, though. That's a tough pitch to command.
Seriously. Well, the thing about it is when he's behind in counts and you know a fastball's coming, that straight fastball, no matter how hard it is very easy to hit for major league hitters.
When you see the screen and the wraparound, you will see our StatCast presentation. Watch it very closely. We will keep you tied into the game. In on the hands at nearly 99 miles an hour. An easy chance and 1-3 in the scorebooks. As the defense goes to work, we are highlighting the arms in the outfield. The infield, Torres, Gregorius, Castro, and Parmalee. And there, Mike, are the arms in the outfield.
Yeah, nobody really that impressive out there because they don't have Aaron Hicks. Aaron Hicks might have the best outfield arm in baseball. So what they have there is Beltran, who obviously has aged a little bit, Ellsbury and Gardner, average-ish, maybe slightly below average. So watch for the Angels to see if they can take some extra bases tonight.
Gardner, an accurate arm. Thanking his roll call in right field. Yankee fans calling for him. And the overachiever, he's been doing it for quite some time. I don't know. If you do it year after year, you're not really an overachiever anymore. Cole Calhoun hitting 300 with an on-base of 377, slugging 465.
Doesn't it feel like nobody really kind of talks about him as one of those stars of the game? And maybe he's overshadowed by Trout. But he is actually one of the better right fielders in baseball. You look at his on-base percentage, up from 308 to 377. Strikeout percentage down from 24 to 17, hitting the ball harder. And I think they started to recognize that. He was hitting 5th for most of the first month of the season. He's been hitting 2nd for a while. I think they're starting to understand that he is their second best hitter, not Pujols.
Roll call continues from the right field bleachers. A hanging breaking ball. It's struck into the right center field gap. Not a good two-strike pitch, and it's up and over the wall for a ground rule double for Cole Calhoun. He blew fastballs by him and then left one on a silver platter for him.
Yeah, left it up. Looks great. They say, it's just a pitch that you see really, really well. It's, he's expecting that pitch to be, about a foot lower. It's just kind of floats up there. Can't help but hit it.
Yeah,
you're not looking for that. It's just there, and your body sort of auto swings and hits it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Fernando. 97-mile-an-hour fastball. That is really, really good, but the spin rate on it is almost league average. That means it's not higher than the hitter expects. It's not really lower than the hitter expects. It's kind of just straight. And as you said earlier, if you know where it's going to be and it's not going to have movement, it doesn't really matter how fast it is. You're going to be able to hit it. And I think that's been his issue his entire career, really.
0-1 the count to Mike Trout. 300 on the year at 302, 409, 533 slug, 12 home runs. He's walked a bunch this year. Good fastball in on the hands.
Yeah, while the Angels struggle, all Mike Trout can do is maintain his own game, which is very, very difficult. Obviously, if he could hit 400 and hit 75 home runs, it would be better for the Angels and they'd have a better chance to win. But it's really, really impressive. He's stayed within himself, has found seemingly every year just a new way to be a little bit better, as Mike was saying before.
What's interesting is everybody's trying to adjust to him, and for a while it was, well, he can't hit the high fastball, so we're going to start throwing in more high fastballs, and he adjusted to that. See, they're trying to do it right there. He's actually been hitting the high fastball really well, to the point that if you look at the heat maps this year, teams have been starting to go low again on him, and that's a problem because he destroys low fastballs. So what's happening this year is he's just not getting fastballs. In the last couple of years, 44% fastballs, 40% fastballs. Now it's down to 34% fastballs, and it still doesn't matter because he's still the best player in baseball.
Yeah. He's just such an elegant athlete. He can adjust. He's a guy that, there are a lot of players, they simply will never be able to hit a good slider. They'll never be able to hit a ball that's on the outside black. But a guy like this, with a little bit of effort, he can really do whatever he needs to do.
It's a good place to pitch him, at least to make him alert, but you can't go in there and walk him.
Yeah. Well, you're moving his feet, but are you moving his feet? He's not a guy.
It looked like it did
it. Yeah, he's not really a guy that jumps out of the way there with those happy feet. It doesn't really bother him. You're looking at Brian Urlacher with a baseball bat, basically.
Trout a first-round pick on the eve of the draft. We'll talk about where these players were selected and talk about where these teams will select in the upcoming next couple of days. And another breaking ball out over the plate. It's lined into center field. And another two-strike pitch that was ineffective. With Mike Trout, you give all the credit in the world to Mike Trout, but the Angels lead it 1-0.
It was an odd kind of pitch selection from Milwaukee there. You look at that sequence, four-seam fastball, on and on. Every single pitch was a 97 or 98 four-seamer. And, you can't get away with that against Mike Trout. You got to mix something else in there. You got to try to slow his bat down or change his eye level. It's great that you can throw really hard, but there's got to be more than that. And kind of surprised to see that's the way he chose to attack him.
He's been burned a couple of times as Albert Pujols digs in, climbing up that all-time home run list. See against Eovaldi, the average exit velocity, 93 miles an hour, 93.4. Mike, quantify that for us.
Yeah, the league average is about 88 or so that means it's considerably above average. And, that's Pujols' game, right? He's going to hit the ball hard. Obviously, he's one of the greatest hitters that's ever played, but, he's just not really been the same since he came to the Angels, and they still have about five more years after this year and $141 million left on that contract. So it's a lot to swallow.
Unless, of course, he leaves early to watch his daughter compete in the Olympics, as he said he was going to, which still might happen. You never know.
His big issue here is this year is that he's hitting the ball on the ground a lot. It's up almost 10 percentage points from what it was over his career. Not that time, obviously.
Oh, he drives that one to right center field, closing the gap and hauling it in out there is Ellsbury. Let the ball travel that time and drove it into right center field, but the ballpark holds it. Armin Killebrew's next for Al. It's been interesting to watch him as an aging baseball player. He certainly at times shows his frustrations, but for as much as he is declined from who he once was, he doesn't show them as much as I think most human beings would.
Sure. It's been so impressive how a lot of those years he started the year so poorly and people are counting him out, and then, you know, the end of the season, he's hitting 300, 25 home runs or so, 90 RBIs. I mean, it's really, really impressive what he's been able to do. I mean, he's had the foot injury, every sort of injury, and, you know, just an older body. It's been really impressive what he's been able to do.
Jeffrey Marte in the big leagues is 6 for 18 with a walk and a home run, 7 strikeouts for Marte. He's doubled 3 times as well. That means in his little tiny sip of coffee, I guess more of an espresso, he slugged it when he's put it in play out there.
Yeah, he had a career day on the first. He was 4 for 4 with his first home run against the Tigers. I mean, he's probably still riding that wave, probably still getting text messages and phone calls about that day. It's really, really great for him.
So far, the Angels have put all 4 balls in play, and they've all been hit hard. 93, 98, 109, and 99. There's not a lot of soft contact so far, so the fact that there's only 1 run in, based on what we've seen from Eovaldi, is a good thing. But if you look at this Angels lineup, it's very top-heavy. The first 4 or 5 guys are pretty good, and then due to all the injuries and some guys having days off, it just kind of goes straight downhill in the second half. So that's where he really needs to be able to get some easy innings.
I mean, the best pitch that Eovaldi's thrown all day was the very first one, that really nice sinker to Escobar that he grounded right back to him on.
Good fastball over the outside corner, nearly 98 miles an hour. Marte started his career off with a bang as well. He signed initially as a professional with the Mets as a free agent back in 2007 out of La Romana in the Dominican Republic. His first big league hit came a couple years after that. Last season when he made it to the big leagues for Detroit, a double against the Detroit Tigers in a 5-4 win, as that one is served into right field on a line. Angels brought their hitting shoes.
Absolutely. Well, you see, I mean, you know, we've been talking about the StatCast, view of this guy's pitches. That fastball so straight, and what you're seeing when a fastball is really, really straight, the hitter is able to stay through that ball for longer. And so, you know, you're seeing these guys that are just serving line drives up the middle on a 97-mile-an-hour fastball. I mean, it doesn't happen very, very often. This is, you know, sort of the approach that you're going to take off of, Jeff Weaver, somebody who's, you know, not going to be throwing so hard.
Well, if everyone's healthy, Jeffrey Marte is not your number 5 hitter, but in a funky quirk for Eovaldi this year, 5-hole hitters are hitting .429 against him. That number 5 slot in the batting order is got an OPS of over 1,200. Go figure, but I guess Marte glad he's in the 5 spot.
Yeah.
You know, as a pitcher, there's 2 ways to get success, right? And that's to strike a lot of guys out, or to get weak contact that turns into, you know, pop flies or downs or whatever. So far, Eovaldi hasn't done either. Hasn't struck anybody out, and all 5 balls in play have been over 92. You know, 2 of them have been over 99. That's kind of a rough way to get success, and obviously, you know, the only way it's going to work is if those guys happen to hit right at fielders, which will happen sometimes, but you can't count on that. And this isn't necessarily a strong lineup, so he really needs to be able to start getting some strikeouts, and with that stuff, he has the tools to do it.
So on the positive side this year, though, with regard to Eovaldi, I know he's off to a tough start. Just 1 run allowed. Strikeouts are up, right? Walks are down.
Ground balls are up. There's a lot of really nice signs there. But, you know, he's been so frustrating, I think, for so long. I mean, this is a guy who was once traded for Hanley Ramirez. He's kind of been a highly thought-of prospect for a while, and he's still young. Everybody kind of dreams on him with that fastball. And the split finger, you know, the harder slider, I think he's getting so much closer than he's ever been, but he's still prone to inconsistency. And, you know, obviously this isn't a great start.
He left a secondary pitch up to Calhoun when he had blown 2 fastballs by him. Goes to work to Johnny Giavotella, spins a breaking ball up there, dangerous one there, but he gets it over for strike one.
Near ephus. That is a few miles an hour over an ephus right there.
Yeah, that's his curveball. We don't see a lot of that for good reason. It's a pitch. It's kind of a show me pitch. It's there to make guys think about it, but it's not one of his successful pitches. Guys are hitting .444 against it this year. You know, it's really about the fastball setting up the splitter and the slider. Like, that's his success. But I think he's been throwing the fastball not exclusively in this first inning, but we've only seen the splitter once.
His extension, by the way, on that last pitch. He throws a good breaking ball down. That's that split-fingered fastball. That's a nasty pitch. His extension on that first pitch, 5.1.
Yeah, that's
5.1.
That is definitely short-arming it. The major league average is about 5.8. He's always been a little bit below average, and you know what extension means is it's how close to the home plate do you actually release the ball. You know, nobody actually throws from 60 feet 6 inches. You get to choose from where you want to throw it from. Eovaldi doesn't really get that far out in front, so he almost loses a little bit in perceived velocity. You know, you see some guys who get really out in front, and it almost makes it look faster because it's coming from a shorter distance.
Hard slider down and away. You know what that tells me about that curveball when I see that shorter extension? That he didn't throw it with conviction.
No.
Anything to that?
Well, it's that he's aiming.
He didn't want to throw it.
I mean, you can just tell when you're watching him. I mean, to the naked eye, you can see that he's just standing up. He's throwing that more like a dart or a frisbee than you know the other pitches that he's throwing.
Giavotella hitting .263 and on base of below 300 though, at .287, and he misses that one that he threw with conviction there. Good firm breaking ball, and the bottom falls out of it. There were a couple of pitches in this inning, though, that he didn't throw with conviction, and because of that, the Angels lead it by a score of 1-0. The Yankees get ready to swing the bat, and so they were good fastballs that were both blown by Mike Trout, and then before that, Cole Calhoun, and then there were secondary pitches that were not good pitches. And let's take a look at the StatCast replay of both of those, powered by Amazon Web Services. We start with that from Cole Calhoun.
Yeah, almost 99 miles an hour. I mean, that's really impressive from Cole Calhoun. And we've talked about that. He increased his exit velocity this year by almost 5 miles an hour. And that was a no-doubter. And that pitch was kind of right down the middle. So
You bet it was.
It's exactly what you need to do with a pitch like that. And look at, of course, it's Mike Trout. 110 is really, really impressive. And, you know, luckily for Nathan Eovaldi, that pitch didn't land about 500 feet away because it didn't have enough of a launch angle on it. You can't be giving up 110 mile-an-hour rockets and expect to be successful.
It's interesting when you look at these Angels and who they are. There are so many injuries that they're dealing with this year in the starting rotation. They're dealing with them in the lineup as well. But the New York Yankees have their lineup somewhat intact. And let's take a look at who they will trot out on the field, with Jacoby Ellsbury leading it off. Brett Gardner in that 2 spot. Carlos Beltran is really having a special year. Mike will get back to him in just a second. Alex Rodriguez, 694 career home runs. McCann, Starlin Castro, who's 4 of 7 with a pair of homers in the series. Didi Gregorius has been quiet in the series. Parmalee is going to play first. He has had some nice power in the big leagues. That's about really what he has brought to the table. And Ronald Torres is the 3rd baseman today. In his last 12, he has been struggling as well. But Carlos Beltran.
Would you believe Beltran's actually outperforming his own career averages? And this is a guy who very well may be on a Hall of Fame career path, and so far this year he's doing better than his career averages. If you look at the last calendar year, 529 slugging, 30 homers, 34% above league average. That's really impressive for a guy who I think people don't think of him that way anymore just because he's been around so long, he's getting older in years. Every year people think this is his last year. I see no reason why it should be. He can keep playing as long as he wants.
Fernando, when you take a look at the pitch usage for Weaver and how he gets people out, obviously you talked about the fact that he's not using a ton of fastballs. What do you see when you look at that?
He just tries to lull you to sleep. I mean, he's throwing all of the pitches at all times. I mean, the adage really is to establish the fastball and start to mix in the breaking stuff later on. But, you know, obviously you go against those rules when you face a Mike Trout in the first inning. But Weaver, he'll throw anything at any point.
When you do a nice job letting the ball travel deep into your stance, and your Ellsbury, especially of late, it's his 25th hit in his last 21 games. He has been hot, getting on base a bunch, and that's a double. That's his 10th two-bagger of the year.
The ambush worked. Doesn't work for the Angels in their half of the inning, but it works for the Yankees.
You know, why wouldn't you be first pitch swing, right? I mean, the reason you don't is because you don't want to get fooled. You don't want it to be a fastball or something that's maybe got a 10-mile-an-hour difference. But his changeup, his fastball, his curveball, they're not that much different anymore. Like, you're not going to get beat. You have the time to adjust.
Yeah, I mean, the experience of hitting Weaver is just different from the experience of hitting the rest of the pitchers in the league. He's throwing so slow. So really, I mean, you're up there just like it's a knuckleballer, and you're just trying to see and hit anything that you're in rhythm with. And you know, he saw something he liked and had a good swing at it.
Curveball missed low to Brett Gardner, and it's no surprise that Brett Gardner did not ambush. He takes pitches, and a ton of them. He wants to, as you say, get a look at what he is working with. Another slow curveball as he takes another and takes a look at it. Gardner at 240 this year, and this is what we're talking about.
Yeah, this is actually since 2012. So over the last several years, he is one of the most patient hitters in baseball, and I think A.J. Ellis is famous for that. Matt Carpenter's kind of gone back and forth on his strategy. Brett Gardner, I almost think he's too passive. I mean, if you have a good pitch, even if it's the first pitch, it might be the best pitch you're going to see. Go after it. You know, something we talk about a lot. It's been his strategy not to, and it's worked okay for him. But I think, you know, you're no longer trying to work the count and get into the bullpen, because we've seen what relievers are like these days. If you get a good pitch, you go right after it, in my opinion anyway.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's a great point, and you know, I don't think that it's coming out necessarily because of that. I think that it's more the strategy of get through that first inning. You know, as a pitcher, get through that first inning however you can. If you've got to throw out all the off-speed pitches, go ahead and do it.
And it's hit hard into left center field. He runs hard with a head-first slide into second base, and the Yankees tie this ball game up at 1 apiece. Interestingly enough, a pitcher you would think you could pull easily based on velocity. Both base hits hit hard the other way.
Yeah, I mean, that's the game plan, is this guy's actually trying to make you pull his pitches and beat him into the ground. That's a pitch that's left up, so you know, it's not going to work for him if he's living up there.
He's been up there twice, both times Ellsbury slapped it hard down the line, and he goes to work over the inside corner with a little spinning breaking ball to Carlos Beltran. We talked about it, 272 slugging, nearly 550. That piece of hitting we were speaking of. But he's got 15 home runs.
He's on pace for 30 home runs. I don't know if he'll actually get there or not, but he was once a superstar, and you look at him. Is he the best hitter in the Yankee lineup right now? I'd argue that he probably is. You know, and I think he's one of those guys when his contract's up, people are saying, "Well, we'll kind of be free of it. We'll get that money back," but it'll actually hurt them not to have him around anymore. Now he's better used at DH because he's no longer the outfielder he once was, but obviously that's taken up by Alex Rodriguez.
Take a look at the Angels defensively. They've already been tested, especially in the outfield, and the arms as they sprinkle around in that outfield. Ortega, Trout, and Calhoun with a strong arm in right. Escobar, Petit, Chiavitella, Jeffrey Marte with Carlos Perez behind home plate.
Yeah, I wish we had Statcast going back years and years, because when Mike Trout first came up, he wasn't really a quote-unquote five-tool player. His arm strength didn't really seem like it was kind of up to par, but he's really worked hard to improve that over the last couple of years. And now it's you know, up to nearly average or slightly above average, and I kind of wish we knew what it was, say, 4 years ago, because I bet you it's higher now.
Flat slider. It's a strike to Alex Rodriguez. 0-1 the count. 214, 264 on base, slugging 427, 7 home runs for Alex. Alex, of course, the #1 overall pick. Major League Baseball's amateur draft in 1993 out of Westminster Christian. Darren Dreifert, the #2 pick out of Wichita State.
He's having a rough start to the year. Obviously, he was hurt. He's on the DL for a while, but you know, he's not pulling the ball like he usually does. He's got a career high pop-up rate. He's got a career low walk rate. He's swinging outside the zone about 10% more often than he does. I still think he's got what it takes to be a quality hitter. He just needs to kind of get his plate discipline back in order.
Missed a spot dramatically there.
Yeah, you can see that even though he's throwing 82 or so, the plan is still to go inside on Alex Rodriguez with that. You know, it's not about how hard you're throwing, it's about how hard your whole range of pitches are. You know, it's basically the same reaction time. Once you're used to an 82-mile-an-hour fastball and a 70-mile-an-hour curveball, they basically, you know, work as effectively as Evaldi's pitches, which are ranging from, you know, 98 to, say, 86 or whatever he's throwing his breaking stuff at.
Weaver's, I think, having the worst year of his career. His ERA is over 5. His fielding independent pitching is over 5. So it's not been a good year, but I think the fact that those numbers aren't even higher than that is impressive because we're seeing it tonight. He's throwing 83-mile-an-hour fastballs. He's essentially throwing batting practice.
And it's up, and it's lined into center field. They have all been up, and the Yankees add another one. And Alex Rodriguez drives in a run. 2-1 New York.
Left up again.
Alex 3 of 9 on this series now. First jump off the bag by Gardner. He was gone when it was on the move. So it's a hitter's kind of night to start the game, huh, fellas?
Looks like it.
104 miles an hour off the bat there. And, that's what happens. When, it is batting practice, right? Low 80s right down the middle. I would think that when he was really successful, this is before we can measure such things, my guess would be he had a really high spin rate on his fastball because he always survived on being a high fly ball kind of guy, a guy who would get these fly balls but not really be damaged by them so much. We can't measure that, obviously, from years past, and now he's gone below. There's like a threshold for velocity. If you drop below a certain point, major league hitters are going to eat you up, and I think that's what's happening here. And would he still be in the rotation if Wilson was healthy, if Heaney was healthy, if Tropiano was healthy, if Richards was healthy? But I don't know. For right now, they haven't had to ask themselves that question.
Brian McCann is just 2 for his last 29. They both have been home runs. As he drops a curveball over the inside part of the plate. Weaver at one point was the pitcher that did throw around 90 miles an hour. He did have that kind of velocity, and it wasn't that he was reaching back and getting the mid-90s. There was always knees and elbows and arms flying at you, swing and a miss there. I mean, the deception's always been the key as he gets McCann. Yeah,
it looks like, obviously we're looking at it in some hindsight bias, but, he's always gotten by on deception. He went where he went in the draft because of his pitchability, as they're saying. But I think that, with the velo down, the deception is just not working. Joe Morgan once came into our clubhouse and said, with a guy that's throwing so slow, at the time he was talking about Jamie Moyer, you don't really get ready the way that you would if you're facing a guy throwing 90 miles an hour or so. You have to sort of change your entire game plan to just more comfortable. Weaver's struggling. The body language isn't quite there. We'll see. It might be a short night for him.
Hit hard by Starlin Castro, but Alex Rodriguez drives in a run. The Angels have some big decisions to make over the next couple of years, and especially tomorrow night as well. The Yankees do as well, with big salaries and trying to rebuild with young players in Major League Baseball's amateur draft. Billy Epler has seen both sides, and he's seen both organizations. And recently, Tim McMaster had a chance to have a conversation with the Angels general manager.
Billy Epler is in his first year as Angels general manager, which means this week is his first chance to put an imprint on the organization as far as the draft goes. So, Billy, as far as the process, getting ready for the draft, how has it gone so far?
So far, so good. We have been, scouring the conference tournaments in college, over the last couple weeks, and we had a few draft workouts, and then we started getting everybody in the room over the weekend, and just kind of collecting all of our thoughts, or finalizing our thoughts, and starting to put our lists together and going through that process. So everything's been very thorough and very fruitful so far.
Obviously, the Angels, Billy, have been hit hard by the injury bug, especially in that starting rotation. So you went out, you signed Tim Lincecum, and I know he's getting close now. One more rehab start, hopefully, before he comes up with the team. How has that gone so far as his rehab? And I know he wanted this one last chance before he joined the big league club.
Yeah, everything's been good. Tim pitched yesterday. I asked him to give me a ring after the game, and so he called, and I spoke with him. And then after the game was over, I also spoke with our AAA pitching coach, Pat Rice, right now. And, the feedback was that all the secondary stuff was where he wanted it to be. I think he wanted to get a little bit more command of his fastball throughout the game from start to finish. And I think he felt like some innings it was there, and some innings that it was drifting a little bit too much on him. And so he felt, let me get another start and see where we're at from that point. And we're good with that because clearly we want him to be comfortable and be at his A game when he steps in here.
Good stuff, guys. We appreciate that, Tim, and a great conversation. A lot of work going on. Very little sleep over the next 24 hours. There's been very little sleep over the last couple of days as Rafael Ortega leads things off. Alden Gonzalez covers the Angels, and he is out at the ballpark as well. And it's an interesting time for the Angels, trying to keep trainers busy and get healthy as quickly as they can, and scouts even busier and figure out what they can do. And when you look, Alden, at the picks for the Angels and you see where they stand at 16, 60, and 96, just 3 in the top 100, it's a pretty small window to get things right. But, boy, they really need to get things right this year, don't they?
Yeah, and, I think you could easily make the case that the draft is a more critical process to the Angels than perhaps maybe any other team in the industry. This is an Angels team that really badly wants to avoid a complete rebuild, and they got a lot of money tied to aging players and a budget that doesn't really have much wiggle room anymore. And so they have to hit on the draft. They need to find ways to get young, controllable players in their system, and they haven't really been able to do that over the last 4 years. And it's hard to kind of oversell just kind of the importance of first-round picks. I mean, you look around at the Angels roster right now, and you look at the guys who have been able to make an impact on their major league team. Guys like C.J. Cron, guys like Cam Bedrosian and Jared Weaver and Mike Trout, and on and on. These are all first-round picks. These are all guys taken in the first round or in the Comp B rounds. We'll see how it pans out for the Angels in terms of their last 4 drafts, but the draft is such a critical process for them, and I think it's going to be a really interesting year for them because, they went from Eddie Bain to Jerry Dipoto, and it was 2 completely different philosophies where Eddie Bain loved to gamble on the high upside high school players, and Jerry Dipoto, partly because of philosophy and partly because they needed guys who could rise through the system quickly, you saw him tend to gravitate towards the high floor, collegiate level players. It's going to be really interesting to see how it is that Billy Epler runs this draft.
Rafael Ortega with a double into left field, and for Ortega, his 5th year, he stands in scoring position.
Hey, Alden, it's Mike. I think you're completely right about how badly the Angels need to really hit big on this draft. But even if they do, it's probably 2, 3, 4 years down the line before some of these guys start to get to the bigs. 4 years left on Mike Trout's contract. What do they do in that time to try to compete while they wait for these draftees to get up there?
There's not really much they can do except try to continue to spend money and try to hope that the players that they gamble on, the players that they bring in, actually make an impact. I still don't see, as much as all the reports that have come out in terms of do they have to trade Mike Trout eventually, do they have to rebuild eventually, I just don't see their owner Artie Moreno kind of consenting to a complete rebuild. Part of the reason is because he's trying to win a championship here, and I think part of the reason is because he doesn't feel like he can do that when you have a player like Mike Trout. He wants to continue to try to put pieces around him, but one of the big storylines of this offseason, Mike, was about whether or not they would be willing to go over the luxury tax threshold, because a lot of people who looked at this team saw that they didn't have anybody coming up through the system. They saw the fact that they had a lot of money tied to players, and the only way that they saw this team being able to be competitive this year was if they just continued to spend money, and they didn't do that this offseason. And really, they're at a point in their franchise where the only way that you could see them continue to compete for championships is if they just continue to spend money, and if they swallow the fact that they're going to have to pay tax on the overage. I don't really see any other way. I mean, this team came into the year as a team that you could see being in contention if everything went right and if everybody stayed healthy. And they had a lot of injuries, and now you're seeing that they don't really have the organizational depth to sustain all those injuries.
Alden, thank you. We appreciate it. That one sails out of here to deep left field. Rounding the bases is Gregorio Petit, and he does so with his first home run of the year. Alden Gonzalez covering the Angels and some great insights. And the Angels strike right back. It is a hitter's party tonight. 3-2.
Well, I was just about to ask Alden about, as he's seen so many Angels games, this Angels team is basically a team of reinforcements that are auditioning for a role next year, that are trying to prove their worth to a team that doesn't have that many bright spots, and Gregorio Petit is doing just that. A little extra incentive against yet another team that didn't give him a chance in the Yankees.
I don't want to take anything away from the third career home run for Gregorio Petit, because you don't accidentally hit a ball 102 miles an hour. That was a 75-mile-an-hour curveball right in the middle of the zone. We talked about this earlier from Evaldi. The curveball just does not work for him. He throws it every now and then to prove he has it, but if you're going to leave it in the middle of the zone, any major league hitter is going to be able to take that deep. And that's exactly what happened there.
Well, the other thing too is, from the naked eye here, I mean, obviously we're not in the box. You can see him tipping that pitch. He stands up straight when he throws it. It looks like he's trying to aim it. And when you're doing that, what you're doing is you're counting on the hitter not swinging. You're counting on the hitter saying, oh, that's spin, I'm not going to hit that. But a good hitter is just going to take a crack at it if he's in good timing.
Rolled out to the right side and rolled as you take a look from our MLB Plus Greater Coverage Cam presented by T-Mobile. And you can see that one from our Greater Coverage Cam in on his hands, different than the pitches that have been out over the plate. Look, Calhoun, Trout, Petit, and I know they all weren't curveballs, but definitely secondary pitches that were all punished by the Angels. That's the reason the score is what it is.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at it right now. You're right. The slider, curveball, splitter. Yeah, that one was a four-seamer, but you're right. It's kind of been the secondary pitches, and it's absolutely been that curveball in the middle.
Calhoun takes low and inside. So Cole's pitch was what? Did he hit a double off of?
That was a hanging slider, if I remember correctly.
You're correct.
And Trout?
Trout's was it was a splitter.
It was a splitter,
Splitter, yeah.
A bad splitter.
Okay.
Just didn't, a split that didn't split is basically a fastball that slows down so you can hit it.
Yeah, and so you just threw one there that was actually really nice. Calhoun went right over it. It's exactly how that pitch is supposed to work. A split finger is supposed to look like a four-seamer right up until it doesn't, and then it dives and you swing over it. So it can be a really, really nasty pitch, but it's got to be located properly, and it's got to actually dive. Because if it doesn't dive, then it's just a fastball you didn't throw as hard.
And in the end, it's another pitch that you have feel for or you don't have feel for. And when your fastball is so hittable, if you don't have feel for it, you're going to be in trouble.
And it seems like you can gain and lose feel for it pitch by pitch almost, because I've seen a couple of really nice ones from him tonight, but then a couple that kind of stayed up and got hit.
Yep.
And that goes all back to, inconsistency is the word of the day for Nathan Evaldi.
He's throwing first pitch strikes this year like he hasn't in any other year. Only 65% of the time as that one misses low, so he's getting ahead. In this game, he's gotten ahead as well. It's been the lack of finishing, the crispness, if you will, of the pitches later on in the at-bat. Calhoun hitting really well away from home this year, interestingly enough. Slugging .583 with an on-base of .431. He waved at that one, Cole did. So we talked about Cole's journey and why he maybe is always looked at as a David Eckstein with power, a guy that works real hard and does great things. Cole was, a guy that was somewhat ignored. He was an 8th-round pick, so it's not that if he had to walk on and try out, as you see the huge shift he's dealing with, but an 8th-round pick in 2010 out of Arizona State University.
He's been slowed by injuries at points too. He had a broken wrist in 2013. He had a badly sprained ankle in 2014 that hurt him. But look at this. This is since 2014, so the last 2.5 seasons. You look at right fielders: Harper, Bautista, Stanton. Those are superstars in the game. And there's Cole Calhoun right there, 6th, and I think that's pretty impressive.
He'll take a walk. Slider down and in, and Calhoun earns his way on. Cole's walked 26 times this year. That's part of that on base. It's close to 380.
Yeah, up from 308 last year. And that's a pretty enormous jump up.
So he just wasn't walking.
Yeah, well, it wasn't walking, and I think also getting on base more via hits as well.
Right.
Combination of both of those things.
That ball launched out of here by Gregorio Petit. StatCast replay powered by Amazon Web Services.
Yeah, 102 miles an hour at a 25-degree launch angle. Launch angle, we look at that 25 to 30 is really the sweet spot for home runs. You can get there before and after, but 68% of batted balls with that combination of exit velocity and launch angle are home runs. That's a really good place to be in. And, if you got a hanging curveball, that's exactly what you want to make happen with it.
Mike Trout just made a face.
Yeah, did not like that. It wasn't a strike. He didn't like it, but he was also not interested in pushing the issue.
He hacks at that good fastball in, something behind it at 98.1 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's the pitch he's going to see all night tonight. The pitch he missed that he thinks he probably should have had.
Mike Singleton a run back in the first inning. Keep an eye on the lead of Cole Calhoun, a very safe lead right now.
It was a good time to work on that splitter.
So here's the thing about Eovaldi, switching gears just a little bit because we saw the lead. No one's even attempted a stolen base against him this year. It's one thing to have a catcher to help you out or be quick to the plate. He does as a right-handed pitcher, to me, because there's plenty of base runners out there for him. No one's attempted one.
That's a fascinating stat.
Well, in his career, here's the thing. In his career, there's only been 19 total attempts in his career. And you documented, you both have talked about, there's been a lot of base runners over the years.
There have been a lot of base runners.
Right?
Yeah.
And when he's had those 19 attempts, 42% of the time they've been thrown out, so well above what league average would be 27%.
I wonder if it's the velocity. You know, guys think that they'll have a less likely chance to steal because the ball's coming to the plate so quickly.
A little slow roller. Trout is erased on a fielder's choice ground out.
He escapes.
The Angels have to get to work. We've talked about it with a couple of them. We've talked about it with their general manager, Billy Epler. Alden Gonzalez talked about it. Jonathan Mayo of MLB Pipeline, our insider, traveling to the big leagues with young, talented prospects. He previews the Angels draft tomorrow.
The good and the bad is that they can use probably a little bit of everything in what's been a fairly thin system as they've really focused on the big league club. Last year was the first year they'd had a first-round pick in a while, and they went off the board a little bit to take Fresno State catcher Taylor Ward. So Rick Wilson and his scouting staff, they could go in any direction, really. They've spent a lot of time with Alex Kirilloff, the young high school outfielder in my neck of the woods outside of Pittsburgh. I think they would love it if he were going to be there for them at 16. There are a lot of other high-end kind of talents that they could go for in that range. It's the first time they picked this highly in the draft, so I think they really want to go for the best available player and hope they can get an impact kind of player at some point up to Los Angeles.
Kirilloff will be pretty comfortable in not that ballpark, not yet, but in a big league park someday. I had a chance to call that game and just showed the highlights. Perfect game, All-American Classic, and he is a young man that may be able to fall. Georgia's Josh Lowe, who's a big-time prep prospect who can play both ways, he may fall as well down to that spot, or a college pitcher. And he's a talented name, but like Dakota Hudson of Mississippi State, these are guys, when you look at the draft for the Angels, that may drip down to that lower spot. The Yankees aren't really in an enviable spot either, and they need help as well. The Yankees picks 18, 62, and 98 in the top 100. So nice to have those 3 picks, but we'll share some other teams over this show that have like 5 picks in the top 100. So both those teams don't have the picks they want.
Everybody needs help, you know? I mean, there's not going to be too much available around Christmas time on the free agent market, so, you know, everybody needs help.
Get it right in the draft. And with the way to evaluate players, how it's changed, the showcase circuit with companies like Perfect Game and the great job that they do make it easier to go see these kids now.
Yeah. It's a really fascinating point that Alden made that, you know, the style that Dipoto had was you know, sort of doctored to try to make the team better quicker by taking those low floor guys. It's really a really interesting idea. I think that really for any organization, I think that the right way to go about it is to just try to get the guys that you think can possibly be the best players. I mean, in the end, you know, would you want say 10 guys that are not going to be impact players but are serviceable players? I mean, you can find serviceable players. You know, the Angels are essentially entirely staffed by serviceable players. But you know, you should be looking for those once-in-a-generation talents, taking those flyers on those guys that might really have the chance to become something special.
Edie Gregorius hits it hard out to the right side. Jeffrey Marte to the bag in time for the out. So Gregorius, who came in with a sub-300 on-base percentage at 289, now gives way to at least the dangerous man power-wise in Chris Parmelee.
We've talked a little bit before about you really have to make the first-round picks count. Do you know when the last time the Yankees made a first-round pick who made it to the bigs and made a meaningful contribution in pinstripes? It's a lot longer ago than you might think.
Is it in the 90s?
It's not in the 90s.
2000s?
Yeah. It's a decade ago was the first-round pick. It was the last time they picked a first-rounder who made a contribution with the Yankees, and it was Jabba Chamberlain. Now, they also picked Ian Kennedy, who didn't really play for them for long, and they also picked Garrett Cole, who didn't sign with them, so there's that. But, look at the list of names. Cito Culver didn't do anything, and Slade Heathcott didn't really do anything, and Dante Bichette and Ty Hensley, they really have not had much luck in the first round in this entire century, really.
Yeah. It's difficult. It's a very, very difficult job. I mean, obviously, they have all hands on deck to, make the best out of those picks, and they haven't really done so.
That wasn't his curveball by Jared Weaver.
There's been a couple of nice ones. He got McCann to wave and miss, and now he gets Parmalee to wave and miss. And that's a pitch with regard to its velocity that almost acts as a breaking changeup, if you will.
Yeah, that's a big league pitch. I mean, it's got high spin, right? And I think if it was paired with a better repertoire, that's very usable. It's just the problem when that's your best pitch, and I think that's his best pitch right now. So it'll work enough to get some guys out, but you can't rely on that as your main pitch as he's doing.
Ronald Torres with an awkward check swing, rolls it up the third base side, and in the end, that's an easy 1-2-3 inning. The pitchers regain a little bit of command of this contest, and Weaver gets the lead. He moves right through it, and at the end of 2, the Angels lead the Yankees by a score of 3-2. Mike Scioscia watches these guys. He is so hands on deck, he will watch the draft as he stands next to Charles Nagy and Alfredo Griffin, and Anthony Castrovince caught up with Mike Scioscia.
Scioscia, obviously, Trout's had this historic start to his career, right? And it seems like every season there's some area where he even improves upon the previous year. This year, he's cut down on his strikeouts, higher contact rate. What can you say about a kid who does continue to improve upon what he's already done up here?
Well, I think what's impressive with Mike is he never really snuck onto the scene. As a rookie, even though he was young, everyone knew he had the talent to do this. And he keeps getting better and better. You would expect experience to, experience to help a player, and it certainly has in Mike's, Mike's case. But the way that he keeps performing, knowing that there's so many expectations about what he can do and what he can do not only today, but where his career is going to take him, he just keeps getting better and better.
When he grew from a power standpoint, you look back like 2014 to 2015 even, the strikeouts come with that, and they always do. But now he's able to maintain the power and cut down on the strikeouts. From your vantage point, how has he been able to do that?
Well, Mike was, even though he looks like he's a physical specimen, he's still developing, and usually power comes a little later with hitters. And in Mike's case, it's not so much that it's late, but it took him a couple years to really grow into the 40 home run power that he's shown. I don't think he's purely a power hitter. I think he's a hitter with power, and I would expect that those strikeouts will be contained as he gets more experience and understands pitchers as your career goes on.
Well, you feel like you could talk about him all day long with who he is as a young, talented player. Anthony, a great conversation with Mike Scioscia about Mike Trout. Anthony, it is intriguing, and it's fun to see you talk with the man who has watched him come to the big leagues and help his team almost as a teenager. And when you watch each year teams try to figure out how to pitch him differently, after at least a couple of weeks, Anthony, he seems to figure it out, Mike Trout, doesn't he?
He does, and the best thing in this game is when great players get better. That's what Mike Trout has done literally every year of his career. Even if he does regress in some areas, he did a couple years ago at batting average, he gained from a power standpoint, and now he's maintained that power while limiting his strikeouts. Watching this game tonight, obviously watching Mike Trout at Yankee Stadium, you think about those Mickey Mantle comparisons that have been tossed around his entire career, basically. And so I went back and looked, and Mike Trout has 3,131 plate appearances entering tonight. In those 3,131 plate appearances, a 304, 398, 557 slash with 151 home runs. Mickey Mantle, through basically the same number of plate appearances, 3129, 306, 407, 551 with 148 home runs. So I'd say it's a pretty fair comparison. And then you got to adjust for Parks and figure where Mike Trout plays his home games, and it makes it even more impressive if he's playing at such a spacious ballpark. And I also think about him in the front of Albert Pujols, his teammate, who's one home run away from tying Harmon Killebrew. And Mike Trout's very clearly on a path to get in that kind of a territory, to get in the 500 home run club as well. Pujols, at this number of plate appearances in his career, had 183 home runs. Trout has 151, but Trout has that 1 year younger. So just a great player, keeps getting better, and a lot ahead of for him.
Albert Pujols goes down with the strikeout. Both of these teams, Anthony, are going to be very, very interesting around the trade deadline. There is a lot of salary to move. They want to hit it in the next couple of days in the draft, certainly, but they don't have a ton of picks. But at the trade deadline, these two teams, if they don't get hot, really will be worth watching. They hope they can trade some pieces, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because for the Yankees, they could almost sell some pieces and still talk themselves into remaining a contender, at least for a wild card this year. Because, Carlos Beltran in the last year of his contract, he's been their chief supplier of power, don't get me wrong. But, maybe if Aaron Judge starts to put together a AAA and they feel like they can get some production out of him, maybe you can move Beltran. And maybe you can move one of those guys in the bullpen. I'm not sure. But it's certainly for the Yankees, you have to think about the big picture and the need for young bodies. And then for the Angels, what's interesting there is how do they feel about 2017? If they're out of it 2016. Obviously, you have Mike Trout, a once-in-a-generation type player, but it is a pretty top-heavy roster. And so that'll be a big question because, like Escobar, for instance, he would be a really nice commodity in this trade market. There's a lot of teams to be at third base, but they also have him under a reasonable contract. I think it's like $7 million in 2017. So if you move Escobar, I'm not saying you're totally punting on 2017, but it's certainly you're ridding yourself from a position of need. So, but there's other guys. I mean, Joe Smith is a pretty obvious trade candidate for that one. He's on the deal right now with a hamstring issue, but pretty nice weapon in the bullpen that they could move. But for both of these clubs, they've got to think about the big picture because when you have these loaded contracts on top of your payroll, it affects everything else.
Anthony, thank you. That one blasted out of here. Our T-Mobile Greater Coverage reporter. T-Mobile Greater Coverage. Easy for me to say. Anthony, thank you very much. That one blasted out of here by Jeffrey Marte. And for Marte, his second home run. And as we said earlier, he hasn't had a ton of plate appearances, but he's slugging it. He's really slugging it, and he crushed that one.
He's having the month of his life right now. I mean, he just hit his first major league home run about a week ago. Went 4 for 4. I mean, he's just having the greatest time right now.
It was the hardest hit ball of his career, 107 miles an hour. And did you see where that ball was? It was belt high. That was middle. That's on a platter. And yeah, it was 97 miles an hour. I know I couldn't hit 97 miles an hour, but any competent big league hitter, if a ball is coming belt high and it's not moving, I think that they're going to be able to hit it. And that's exactly what happened there.
Off the end of a bat with a breaking ball, Gregorius from the hole. That's a pretty play and a nice dig at first by Parmalee. Was in a guy that has played there a ton. He's playing there now, and that's a nice dig. This, again, is what you were talking about.
Look where that pitch is. It's belt high, and it's right down the middle, and he just absolutely destroys it. 108 miles an hour, 25 degrees launch angle off the bat, and we always say between 25 and 30 for home runs. That's the real sweet spot, especially if it's over 100 miles an hour. That ball was not coming back, and, he's got these skills of all he does. He just needs to be able to place the ball a little bit better. He needs to be able to mix up his pitches a little more. And for some reason, they just haven't been able to get him to do it because you still see those pitches like that right down the middle.
Those are the words of Mike Petriello, Fernando Perez. My name is Darren Sutton. Glad to have you with us. MLB Plus, presented by T-Mobile. Rafael Ortega doubled back in the second inning. Out of Venezuela, signed by the Rockies back in 2008. In January as a free agent. He's wearing a Rockies uniform and a Rangers uniform.
He's a young journeyman. We have those.
I like that.
These days. He's been all over the place, and he's, 25 years old or so. Another guy just auditioning to try to stick around when some big changes are inevitably made over here.
Slow roller. He's got good speed, so you can't do that. He's got nearly 200 career minor league stolen bases. He just pounded into the dirt, and he is on. Ortega's got 2 hits. Ortega's got 2 hits. Be honest, did all of you know these guys before the year started?
I didn't.
Okay,
I did. And I'm paid to know these guys, and I did not know these guys. And I think it tells you a lot about where the Angels are at the moment. We talked about the injuries. It's not all on the team they built. A lot of guys are hurt. They've done a half-decent job of just finding guys to fill out the roster because they have some skill, right? I mean, we saw that ball that Marte hit. That was a crushed shot. It tells us a lot about how Evolved is pitching right now, but the Angels, I think, have done the best they can with the situation they're in with all the guys that are hurt.
Well, it just goes to show you, I mean, scouting, a great part of what scouting you're doing, you're just managing damage. When you have all of these injuries, it's so important to have a really, really good scouting core so that you can staff your team at every position with guys that can produce for you. You know, if you keep that WAR essentially, you know, right around zero or get a little bit more than that, you can weather what has been an awful year. I mean, obviously the Angels aren't where they want to be, but you know, the reinforcements are making them look really, really good.
Carlos Perez grounded out to third back in the second inning. He's got a runner on first he's dealing with as he takes wide at nearly 98 miles an hour. MLB Plus powered by our Greater Coverage Cam and T-Mobile's Greater Coverage Cam. This great view provided for tonight's game. And we love our partnership, especially with some of these views by T-Mobile. Breaking ball bounced in there.
Really impressive job by McCann. Picking that one up there.
2-1 the count. 4-2, the Angels lead it. Perez has got a pair of home runs. He's got 8 doubles on the year.
No.
People said yes to that one, taking a shot to the right side.
I mean, anytime I see a ball shot the other way, there's just a part of me that, you know, I'm just so impressed and hopeful that it stays that it stays fair. It's a nice piece of hitting. Even if it's not fair, it's still a nice piece of hitting. It's very, very difficult to do.
Carlos Perez had quite a major league debut last May on an 0-1 pitch. He had a walk-off home run against the Seattle Mariners. This time, though, he goes down on strikes. There was a home run in the inning. Jeffrey Marte with his second home run. He continues to explode onto the scene with regard to power. As you said, he's having the week of his life. The Yankees with some work to do, and we told you about their slots in the draft. The Yankees pick 18, 62, and 98 in the top 100. Jonathan Mayo previews a perspective on the draft from the Yankees' point of view.
They realize that it is important for them to get back to growing from within, for them to have sustained success. And they're going to look at this draft to do that again. It sounds like they're looking for a bat, and the way this draft class shapes up, more than likely it's going to be a high school bat that's around. Word is Alex Kirilloff is very high on their list as a high school outfielder from western Pennsylvania, just outside of Pittsburgh. He may not be there, so they may have to go in another direction. Nolan Jones is another name that has come up as well. But it sounds like, depending on who's on the board, of course, that if they can find a high upside bat, that's the direction they'll go in.
Nolan Jones, a good name as well on that list. All right, so list that teams like, or the draft list. We were just talking about those talented players. List that teams don't like are the following lists we're about to show you. This is a who's who of injured players, and we start with the Yankees.
Yeah, really bad. I think people look at Teixeira, and that's a big one. But Greg Bird, I think that's the one that stands out to me because he's the guy who came up last year, and he really crushed the ball while Teixeira was out last year. And the fact that he was out before the season even started is a huge problem for them because now their first basemen are Chris Parmelee and Rob Refsnyder. That's not a great situation. Austin Romine, by the way, got hurt the other day catching Aroldis Chapman in the bullpen. It's not safe to be anywhere where Aroldis Chapman is throwing baseballs.
Yeah, messed that thumb up. The thumbnail was bleeding. By the way, I can top that list, Fernando. I can top it with that list.
Ugh.
God.
Ugh. Well, I was just going to say about the Yankees, they miss Dustin Ackley so much because he's so useful. But, you know, looking at the Angels' injuries, there's just so many of them. You look up and down this list, and even though you don't have, you know, they're not all major stars, these are guys that you were counting on. You certainly weren't counting on not having half of them, let alone all of them. And, you know, a lot of star power obviously there, but a lot of very, very useful players. And really, for me, Andrelton Simmons is the guy that you miss the most. He's possibly the best defender in baseball, and, you know, his presence is really missed.
And that was an entire rotation there too, right?
Yeah.
Wilson and Richards and Heaney and Tropiano.
Yeah. That's an all-star rotation in a parallel universe.
Breaking ball to Ellsbury on the 1-0, and he drives it to deep right field. That one will sail out of here.
Jeez.
That's vintage Ellsbury.
I like Calhoun going back like he thought he actually had a chance at that. That ball was just destroyed.
So they're doing a new thing. I don't know if you guys can see at home. On home runs, they're flashing the lights, the stadium lights, so that it looks like there's a power outage.
He almost hit the stadium lights on this hanging breaking ball.
100 miles an hour. I believe that was a hanging curve right down the middle. So I'm not sure there's a more hittable pitch in baseball than a 68-mile curve right down the middle. And, you know, Ellsbury takes that one out at over 100 miles an hour. And he really skied it. That's an angle there of 43, which is really high. We're looking at home runs. It's usually, like, not usually, but a lot of them are in that 25 to 30 degree sweet spot. 43 for a home run, it's pretty high. So he really got under that, and Calhoun had no chance of getting that ball. And that's a bad spot for a hanging breaking ball right there.
Diving play out there to the right side. Coming up with it is Giovitella. Gio with a nice play.
It's a bad spot to hit a hanging breaking ball right there. Guys are really talented, Giovitella.
I remember Giovitella for years. This is when the Royals were pretty poor. He was the guy that everybody wanted to bring up because in the minor leagues, he was killing the ball, and he had a great on-base percentage. In the minor leagues, he had a 378 on-base percentage. In the majors, he finally gets his chance with the Angels. It's only 297. It's one of those guys, you know, everybody crushed the Royals for it. Well, maybe they kind of knew what was going on because they just didn't think he could succeed in the big leagues.
Well, he played in the PCL, and the PCL sort of inflates those statistics. I actually ran into him over in Omaha, which is, you know, a beautiful stadium, but I mean, the PCL is hardly baseball in a way. It's all the, you know, it's the same game, but I mean, places like Albuquerque where, you know, you see balls travel in ways that you've never seen balls travel before. It's a lot like spring training in Arizona.
Marte eaten up at first by that hot shot off the bat of Carlos Beltran. So Carlos is now 1 for 2. It was certainly a bolt to the right side. Tried to play it on a backhand and couldn't do so. That's a base hit, though.
At the top of the show, we mentioned that this park, you know, for Jared Weaver, a fly ball guy who gets hit hard, it's probably not a great combination. He has now 33 innings in this new version of Yankee Stadium, and he has allowed 33 runs, 11 home runs.
Oh.
Alex Rodriguez chases a slider down and out of the zone. 0-1 the count. He singled in a run back in the first.
Hate to say it, but I saw him in the clubhouse, and he didn't look so full of energy, and obviously body language hasn't been great, but you know, that's his style. I mean, there are guys that have that you know, super energetic body language. It means nothing if you're not pitching well, and then other guys, you know, Lester looks like he's cruising whether he's given up 10 runs or whether he's throwing a no-hitter. It's the same sort of thing.
4-3, the Angels lead it over the Yankees. That one bolted into left field for a base hit. Just dropped the bat head on that one. Pitch down in the zone. Alex didn't try to do too much with it, so he's 2 for 2. StatCast replay of Jacoby Ellsbury's home run, powered by Amazon Web Services, and we start with the pitch.
Yeah, good spin rate on this, but really low velocity, even for a curveball, right down the middle. You couldn't have drawn that up any better for Jacoby Ellsbury. Calhoun tries, but no chance about that. If you look at this, I think you're going to see crushed off the bat, 100 miles an hour, and like I said, a really high launch angle. That's why it didn't actually go as far as you'd expect, because so much of the travel distance was straight up and then straight back down. I don't think he cares. It's still a home run in the books, but you know, it's just an interesting way to see that. That was really more of a majestic shot than a line drive shot.
But he missed the spot. Missed a spot.
Weaver now deals with McCann with a couple of runners on. McCann sees the same breaking ball that he swung and missed the first time for strike 3 and fouls it off.
Yeah, that last hit there from Alex Rodriguez, 111 miles off the bat. That's the hardest hit of the evening. And we've been seeing a lot of triple-digit exit velocities so far from both sides.
Ryan, 2 hits in his last 30 at-bats. He's homered in this series.
McCann over the last calendar year, only hitting .221, but with a decent amount of power. So he's basically been a league average hitter. And I guess the question is, for that contract as a catcher, is that good enough, being league average? It's hard to find good catchers, but they gave him a whole lot of money to be better than that.
I think they really thought that he would be great in that stadium. He would, find a way to adjust, maybe get a few more balls in the air to that pull side where those, jet streams are blowing out and right. But he's struggled.
That's a good pitch over the inside corner.
He's trying. He's trying to pull it. He's not trying to beat the shift. His pull percentage the last 2 years are career highs. Opposite field percentage the last 2 years are career lows. He's not trying to go the other way. It's just not working out. He's striking out more is a problem, and he's popping up more.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to. I mean, Yankee Stadium, it's essentially like an invisible Fenway Park. It's just beckoning you to go that way.
The curveball beckoned him to try to drive it, but he got under it. Every time I say it, I call it hanging. I don't know if it is hanging or not. It's just the way that it drops in there, tagging and getting the third as Beltran, but the ballpark held that fly ball to right.
Beautiful throw by Calhoun. You used to see the first couple years of Yankee Stadium, you'd see guys hit balls in the air to right field and throw their bat and scream and curse, expecting that, these balls aren't going out, and they're going way out of the ballpark. Flies a little bit differently in the new Yankee Stadium.
There's a 73-mile-an-hour slider from Jeremy Weaver. And if it sounds slow, it's because now we're getting used to Noah Syndergaard throwing 95-mile-an-hour sliders.
Right.
A ball that fast that moves like that, it's almost unhittable. A ball that slow, even with movement, you still have time to adjust and get good contact on it.
Starlin Castro's 4 of 8 in this series. He's got a pair of home runs. There's that pitch you were talking about, and we want to call it a curveball based on velocity, but that's a slider. The curveball will dip into the 60s. Yeah. And we officially had that one just a touch below 70. You see the spin rate at 24.75.
This is a matchup I hate if I'm Mike Scioscia. I think
Why is that?
Just because Castro's got that slow pitch softball vibe going to him, where he just sort of it looks like he just lives to hit pitches like this, pitchers like this.
And then hopes there's a keg in the dugout. We're tying in slow pitch softball.
Weird year. I was gonna say weird year for Castro, but weird career for Castro. He's kind of he's really up and down every single year. And then we did some Yankee games a couple weeks ago, and we were saying Castro, really great year. He was the best hitter in the Yankees at the time. If you look at him through the 1st of May, he was slugging 500. He 30% better than league average. Since the 1st of May, 257 on base percentage, 26% below league average. But now he's actually hit home runs each of the last 2 nights. So what to make of him, I don't know. And check back tomorrow, all right?
Lazy pop up to the right side, went down and got that just above the chute tops. The Yankees get a run. They trail it by a score of 4-3. Weaver walks off. We walk you into the best of this week's StatCast.
Here comes the runner to the plate, to throw to the plate, and he is saved! Oh my! Upton steals home! Not only a great break by Upton, but what a slide using his hand to the inside to hit the dish.
What the Jackie Robinson is going on? That was sweet.
The 2-1 breaking ball line to left center, hustling over Lagares, dives, and he made the catch! Oh, what a catch by Juan Lagares! He saved 2 runs with a highlight reel defensive play, leaving his feet in the alley in left center field, and the Marlins are done in the 6th.
And Gregory Polanco is going to give him the lead. Whoa! Bangs off the area at the back end of the Clemente wall seats to give the Pirates the lead. That thing would have been in the river.
Exit velocity 108. Let me figure that out. We'll see how far that would have went.
An impressive home run for Gregory Polanco.
I mean, that was just an absolute bullet.
Not a good way to put it, but.
Ashley Chavez joins us. Ashley, you've been mining, you've been digging, you've been looking for some communication. What do you have?
Well, I have a couple things, but first I want to remind everyone again, in case you have missed it, we want you to be in this conversation too and in this broadcast. So be sure to tweet us using hashtag MLB+. Ask us all your questions about the broadcast, advanced stats. We're here to answer. Let's get started on your tweets. We're going to start out with a familiar name, a good friend of ours, Darren Willman. He tweets, Jared Reaver tossed his second hardest pitch of the year in the first inning, a blistering 85.8 miles per hour, guys. Hey, it's better than my probably 45 miles per hour, so can't really say anything there. Next, we have Christopher Corelli. He tweets, let's see if the Yankees answer again. Could be a lot of back and forth tonight. It certainly is. It seems like a real home run derby, which is exciting. I like it. And finally, we have Katie Sharp. She tweets, Nathan Eovaldi, 2015, 10 home runs, 154.1 innings pitched. 2016, 10 home runs, 69 innings pitched.
That's bad, right? That seems bad.
It's not good.
Thanks, Ash.
Of course.
Talk to you in a bit. Hashtag MLB+, or throw it out there with your tweets. We'll come find you. We'll come find your good tweets. It's a lot of home runs, gentlemen.
Yeah, like we said, he's been getting more strikeouts, which is great, and he's been getting more ground balls, which is great, but he's also been getting more home runs, which kind of takes away a lot of that. That's why his ERA is still north of 4, even though it seems like he's made some steps forward this year.
Venezuelan native Gregorio Petit rolls it to the right side.
Now that is a sinker. Gregorio Petit is from a long line of very talented shortstops for the Caracas team in Venezuelan winter ball. Omar Vizquel played over there. I got a chance to play with Gregorio Petit, and he is one of the most adored Leones of Caracas players.
He became a North American baseball player when Oakland signed him back in 2001, but as you said, a very decorated career.
Yeah, I mean, in the last couple of years, he's been signed essentially to help mentor younger players, but he's done well, and he's been at the right place at the right time a few times, and has gotten a chance to help some major league clubs, including both of these teams that we're seeing today.
Yunel Escobar squared that one up and hit it on a line to Jacoby Ellsbury. There has been some good fate for Escobar. His batting average for balls in play this year is .347. Now, it's not always all good luck. You have to hit it hard. You can hit into that. Case in point, a guy who's on deck, and Mike Trout, his whole career, he's had a high batting average for balls in play. That's not just good luck. That's scalding the baseball.
Yes, that's exactly what happens.
Yeah, look to Calhoun to try to extend this at bat. Already 2 outs very quickly.
So he does. He takes strike one. He's doubled and he's walked. Calhoun is a lot of balls go his way. .348 batting average for balls in play this year.
See, that's that nice pitch, right? And that one touched 90, and that's the splitter we've been talking about. If you can throw a 90-mile-an-hour splitter that dives like that, that's a really, really good pitch. And we've seen it, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 really good ones, and then we've also probably seen 4 or 5 ones that stayed up in the zone that got hit. If he can really master that, if he can make it a good pitch 90% of the time, I mean, that's the key. That is the key to making, he's not going to be an ace, but to being an above-average starting pitcher.
I mean, you really get the sense that this guy, he's learning on the job. I mean, he's so compelling as a thrower. He has this chance to learn on the job. I mean, he's, every inning he's leaving kind of, frustrated at himself. But I mean, he's so talented. You trot him out there and hope that, by the end of the season, and this is a guy that, by the end of the season, if things go right, this could be your best pitcher going into the playoffs if you're, going into the playoffs. Or he's a guy, if things go wrong, he's somebody that you leave off because you don't have confidence that he can get through the lineup 2 times in a playoff scenario.
Calhoun had a shift he dealt with. Hits it hard on one hop, but it's right out to the second baseman. So a clean inning that time for the first time. It's a 1-2-3 inning as he gets Petit, Escobar, and Cole Calhoun. We've talked about how the Angels have been missing Andrelton Simmons and his athleticism. We know what a great defender. He's just a great athlete. Lindsey Barrow with a little bit more on Andrelton Simmons.
We're all very accustomed to hearing about ulnar collateral ligament tears in the elbow, but on May 10th, Angels shortstop Andrelton Simmons had surgery to repair a full-thickness UCL tear in his left thumb. That is the two-time Gold Glover's glove hand. The UCL is at the base of the thumb on the index finger side and serves to stabilize the joint where it connects to the hand. Simmons, who was originally slated to miss at least 6 weeks with the injury, seems to be a quick healer. He began a rehab assignment on Monday with the Class A Inland Empire 66ers and started off with 2 hits and 2 runs in his first night out. He'll make his 3rd start tonight and could be reactivated as early as this weekend, around the 5-week mark. For some comparison, Nationals' Bryce Harper had the same injury in 2014 and he missed 9 weeks.
Athleticism makes a difference, but this is why it makes a difference.
Really kind of what we have right now is one of the more advanced defensive metrics, because we all know that just going by fielding percentage, it doesn't really work out. So as you can see here, Andrelton Simmons is leaps and bounds ahead of everybody. And you know, this is why Jason Hayward got paid, because of defense. This is why Alex Gordon got paid, because of defense. These guys are elite defenders, and Andrelton Simmons is so far ahead of everybody else. And I think Fernando said before, he's probably the best defensive shortstop in baseball. I would take the probably out of it. I think there's no doubt about it. And you know, that's the eye test, that's the metrics, and it's a huge loss for the Angels not to have him.
It's amazing. This is something that you can only say by feel up until now. And today we have these statistics that can just quantify it for you. It's so great.
Yeah, and we're actually going to be able to improve on that. Like DRS, that is not StatCast, right? That's something that's been around for a couple years. But now that we have these StatCast numbers, now that we're into year 2, we're really kind of understanding what the data looks like. We are really hoping to be able to improve upon this very soon.
Didi Gregorius leads things off as we peek from up above at our greater coverage cam presented by T-Mobile. Over the inside, 84 miles an hour. Pitch on the outer half, off speed, stayed back as long as he could, and Petit turns it into an easy out, hit it to his counterpart there.
The fact he's only at 44 pitches, and 1 out into the 4th inning, surprisingly good, right? Because I think Evaldi is well over 60 at this point. So, Weaver hasn't really looked great, and 3 runs isn't really great either, but he hasn't had to expend a lot of pitches to get to this point.
This is Chris Parmalee. This looks at an off-speed pitch that nips the outside corner. Last year, he found his way into 32 games for Baltimore. He did homer 4 times in those 32 games. There's some power in that bat.
Chris Parmalee, a 1st-round pick 10 years ago. The Twins thought he was going to be in the middle of that lineup for a long time, and didn't really work out for him, and really didn't work out for most of that 1st round from a decade ago.
Some power in that bat, but he serves that one foul. He's still working, though.
He's still working.
Still working.
Yeah, that first...
Power, speed, velocity, they keep getting higher. And left-handedness, right?
Left-handedness. Yep. And availability.
Weaver nearly hit the inside corner there to Parmalee.
Yeah, that 1st round 10 years ago, I believe that was the Kershaw, Lincecum, Scherzer draft, and that's basically the extent of that 1st round.
He's a Southern California kid at Chino Hills High School, and he went to a showcase at Turner Field, Perfect Games National Showcase, and they talked about his power. He got a 10 grade as a prospect, and was an All-American as well, an Aflac All-American that summer. Got away with the breaking ball there. I guess you'd call those breaking balls looping.
You can see that these hitters are just not used to waiting that long. You know, it's just another tick. They're all just a little bit behind it, but he's not locating great, you know. That one's located and it's the wrong location.
That wasn't even a strike, though. Did you see how far off the plate he had to go to get to that? Yeah. And I guess they were shifted so hard that it kind of made sense if that was.
Right, there were no defenders there.
It wasn't a bad pitch.
No defenders there, and all of a sudden, that's a double for Parmalee.
Well, maybe I'll take that back. Maybe it was a bad pitch in the sense that if you have the shift on so hard, you should probably be throwing inside, so he can't go and do exactly that.
Give him credit too. You do something like that says, I'd like to stay here, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, I may be a guy who has more time and a long-term contract, like let's say a Brian McCann, and I'm going to stick true to my game. But a guy like Parmalee, he wants to show this team. Sure, I'll hit against a shift.
Absolutely. Well, baseball is the ultimate "what have you done for me lately" game, and you know when you've got a hot hand, you keep playing it, and so. You know, there are a bunch of guys on both teams, obviously. We've spoken more about the Angels reinforcements, but there are just a bunch of guys that are hungry and motivated to stick around and prove their worth to their clubs.
Ronald Torres flies out to right field for the second out of the inning.
He's never going to have a better opportunity than this, right? Bird's out for the year. Teixeira's going to try to come back in a couple weeks, but I don't think anyone feels that confident that he's going to be able to. Ackley is out for, if not the entire year, most of it. Who's the first baseman? It's going to be Parmalee and Snyder. And I don't think you're ever going to get a better opportunity than that to show that you really belong in the big leagues. Because even if they try to trade for someone, which they may do, it's probably going to be several weeks or maybe even to July. Now or never.
Well, you know how it works in these marquee organizations, your Yankees, your Cubs, your Dodgers, your Giants. You know, you hit a big home run or two, and you're canonized. You know, you can hang around for a whole month off something like that. You know, so you step up, you hit a big home run. You know, it means the world.
They just get something good on video, right?
Yeah.
So that probably seemed like a nondescript pickoff throw to second base. The Angels are on pace to set a major league record for successful pickoffs this year, which is it's interesting if you think about it. And their pitching coach Charles Nagy was interviewed, and he said, "We're not trying. It's nothing on purpose, but we actually dug into the StatCast numbers, and the reason I think that they're throwing so many pickoffs is simply because they're so slow to the plate. You know, we did the numbers. They are tied for the second slowest to the plate by their pitchers. And what I thought was fascinating is Mike Trout said this. He's from center field. He's like, I think our pitchers are slow. And he was right. And, you know, the data backed that up, which just makes me think there's literally nothing Mike Trout can't be good at. Because he saw that and he's absolutely right. And not only are they throwing off a lot, I think they're the third most pickoff throws in baseball. They are by far the most successful.
Cut down the runs any way you can.
And if you look at all their pickoffs, they've only had, I think, one successful one to second base. Most of them have been to first base, and they've got almost a 5% success rate. A lot of teams don't have any pickoffs at all. They had 14 to first base.
Looks like we might have had catcher's interference here. Let's see if that's what occurred. Ellsbury hit it hard. Might have heard that catcher's make it nicked of Carlos Perez. I believe that's what it is.
Well, you know what grinds Mike Scioscia's gears?
That?
Catcher's interference.
The umpire made that call right away.
Yeah, you could hear it.
It might have been a homer. Stayed right on that ball through the catcher's interference. You never see them hit that hard.
So this is Brett Gardner now. He doubled in a run back in the first inning. Curveball dips over the inside corner to Brett.
So this is the last year of Jared Weaver's contract with the Angels, making $20 million this year, and then that's it. Does he pitch for another big league team after this? I'm just putting it out there. I don't have the answer, obviously.
You know,
the shift real quick, boys. I'm going to jump in here because he took that breaking ball against the shift on the ground into left field, and another run is added. And the Yankees tie it up at 4-4. Gardner joins Parmalee in beating the shift.
Shift mayhem, unbelievable. just three or four of them right through it.
What's funny is that's probably going to be one of the softest hit balls in the game against Cleveland. It's just going to get the line. Ortega's got a pretty decent arm. That's not a bad throw. Thought he might have had him, but it looks like Perez kind of, fumbled it in his chest a little bit. Didn't get the tag down cleanly. Yeah, the throw definitely beat him. Just a nice slide. Didn't get the tag down.
So what were your thoughts on Weaver? I jumped in on you. One more year for him? Does he play somewhere else? Take a look at this one more time.
You can't tell if he gets it with his foot the first way through. Can't tell if he gets it with his hand. Both teams are pretty sure. With Weaver, you never know. You have to know him personally. You have to know whether he feels that he has unfinished business or not. It's probably not about making more money at this point. It also depends what kind of shape his body's in. I mean, there's so many unanswered questions, and I would imagine that the answers are pretty interesting. I mean, the velocity going so far down, you sort of, wonder if it's a physical issue or a matter of, whether his heart is, still in it. So it'll be interesting. I mean, I know that there are a lot of teams. I mean, he seems like a guy that, a guy that the Dodgers take a flyer on to just have as, a sixth or seventh starter that's basically just around, kind of available, getting ready, that's sort of on that phantom DL just in case anything goes wrong.
Fernando, I have a different question for you. When you played as a hitter, did you ever draw catcher's interference?
Never.
So we saw Jacoby Ellsbury do that earlier in this inning. Okay, that is his 6th of the season. Nobody else has more than 2. He's got a full 1/3 of all of baseball's catcher interferences, and there's a part of me that thinks that's not a coincidence. I mean, that's a pretty big number. Is he setting up too far back? Is it actually something he's trying to do on purpose? Because that's an insane number to me.
Well, his swing, I mean, you can tell, one of his, timing mechanisms is he actually likes to, bring that weight back and start that swing when the weight is pretty far back. And it's just a bit of an unusual swing. I think that's what's leading to it. His bat barrel goes a lot further back than most other hitters. So it's just a weird anomaly of his hitting.
He is the 2nd most all-time. Number 1, Pete Rose.
It's amazing.
His extra base hit total, incredible. Slugging the baseball as a switch hitter and playing a premium position early on in his career, right in the middle, as a ranging outfielder and a center fielder. Just really spectacular career, and it's fair to talk about him and that Hall of Fame discussion. When you get to those 1,000 extra base hits, you're in a who's who collection of switch hitters, boy.
I think he's going to squeak his way, and I think I've said this before. I believe he's probably hurt by playing for a lot of teams. He doesn't really have the one team or one great thing you remember him from. I mean, his best playoff moment was with Houston, and he was with Houston for about 10 minutes. Nobody thinks of him as an Astro, right? So I think that might hurt him a little bit, but I think he's going to get in.
Alex Rodriguez waits on deck. Weaver trying to fight his way through this.
I think we're going to see a ball here. I'd rather face A-Rod.
Good call.
That's exactly what happened. He wasn't about to give in, and here is Alex, who was 2 for 2.
Never thought I'd ever say that.
You'd rather face A-Rod.
I think I'd rather face A-Rod than whoever's hitting behind him, in front of him, excuse me.
Yeah, tough year for A-Rod, but over the last 10 days or so, he's really been red hot. He's starting to get back into it. And, if you're A-Rod, this is exactly the spot you want. You want bases loaded in a tie game against Jared Weaver. I mean, this is the chance to show, hey, I'm still A-Rod. I still belong to be in this lineup.
Does he?
I don't know.
Got it down off the end of the bat. Nearly went down to a knee to fly it to the warning track.
Just enough changeup to get him.
He leaves the bases loaded. Weaver can look at his outfielders and thank them for the work that they have done running that one down, but he was definitely flirting with it. So, struggling with his command and not as sharp as he wants to be. The velocity isn't there. He has to be picture perfect, and we're glad you're with us. MLB Plus. Brian Hoke's at the ballpark, and Brian gives us his perspective of what is going on. And obviously, Brian, we've talked about both of these teams on the eve of the draft with aging veterans and really big contracts. You're probably not seeing many decision makers around that make any kind of a baseball decision. They're in a war room somewhere getting ready.
Oh, well, yeah, the whole draft is being run out of the Tampa office, so everybody's kind of relocated down there, and they're going to have Andy Pettit and Secaucus. He'll be answering the phone, but no, everybody down there, Damon Oppenheimer, his entire staff, Brian Cashman, they're going to run the draft out of Tampa, and they're looking to get some talent. The draft pool is not as deep as last year's. They don't believe it is, so they're going to be looking for a lot of late-round picks and try and get some guys, kind of like they had Brett Gardner a few years back, where it was kind of an unheralded pick, third round. Nobody really thought too much of him, but they hit a gem with him, and they're hoping to do that again on Thursday.
Well, they're hoping to find their way, too, at the top of the order and find, the right direction, make some decisions, and have some players help them make some decisions. But that's something that's been kind of an ebb and flow throughout the year, the 1, 2, and 3 spots.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you saw a good example of it tonight when Ellsbury and Gardner are hitting back-to-back and they're operating the way they are in that first inning against Jared Weaver. You saw it, double, all of a sudden a run's on the board. And, and then he manufactured in just that last inning, too. Ellsbury, I cannot figure out what's up with that catcher's interference. Since he started in 2007, he has more than anybody else in the major leagues. I believe, as you mentioned, Pete Rose, the only one with more all time. So whether it's a strategy, whether he's really just not doing it on purpose and it just happens to be happening, it's crazy. It really is. He's got that really deep swing, especially with 2 strikes, and that's what you see.
No, Brian, on Ellsbury, I think that the contract is kind of viewed as being a really poor one for the Yankees, and I think part of that's because he signed right after Cano went to Seattle, and Cano's been very good out there. But is that a little unfair, do you think? Like, he's not been a superstar with the Yankees, but he's been a consistently above-average player the first year and this year. I know last year he was hurt. How is that viewed? He's still a decent enough player, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, decent enough, but I think when you're paying $153 million, and especially considering the guy who he partially replaced there, that one's off the wall, and Ellsbury will play it back in.
Nice.
I think when you're looking at the money that you paid for him, and you're paying for an upper echelon, top flight caliber player, and Ellsbury has not done that yet. So I think that, especially in that case, you were thinking going into that contract that you're going to get great value the first few years, and it would be the last few that you wouldn't get it. It didn't really get great value the first few, so who knows what it's going to be at the end.
Brian, thank you very much, and thank you for the play-by-play there. I like
sure,
that.
Anytime.
I appreciate that.
Itching to get out.
Yeah, we've been stepping on, with these great interviews. The guys have been sneaking in their big hits right in the middle of your folks' great insight, but you just helped us out right there. That's a man who wants to stay with us. I appreciate that. Thank you, Brian.
I'll do what I can.
Be well.
You got it.
Brian Hoke, calling some play-by-play and doing a very nice job. And giving some insights, too. We don't want to sell him short.
Insights, too, but I don't know if you noticed, Mike Trout absolutely murdered that base.
What do you got? What do you got over there?
I got
200?
Close. 115.
Come on.
The hardest we've seen anybody ever hit a baseball in their top 5 or all Giancarlo Stanton is 120 miles an hour. It's real hard to get a ball 115 and not get a base hit out of it. Obviously, it's possible you can line it to the third baseman or whatever. It's the second hardest hit of Mike Trout's StatCast career.
If you're watching at home, kids, did you notice how still his head was and how he didn't overswing and how a nice, easy swing does the trick?
Can that be taught, keeping your head still, or is that just kind of innate?
Honestly, it's trial and error. Your body wants to believe that swinging as hard as possible and pulling your head and putting every ounce of effort possible into every swing is how you hit the ball hard. And then, if you are lucky enough to get the chance to play pro ball, and in the thousands of at-bats of trial and error, you will slowly start to realize that your easiest swings produce the hardest hit balls, like that one right there.
Yeah, Albert scolds it off the wall in left field. The whole body drifted out, but the hand stayed back long enough, and for Pujols, it's a two-bagger, more than 500 career doubles for the future Hall of Famer, and another run for the Angels. They lead it 5-4. Trout scores.
Pujols might not be what he once was, what he was with St. Louis, but if you're going to give him a hittable pitch down the middle, he's still going to be able to do a lot with that. I mean, he's still a dangerous, powerful hitter. Hit 40 home runs last year, right? I mean, that is a guy you do not want to make a mistake to, and we saw where that ball was. I mean, kind of down the middle, not really that impressive. 111 miles an hour off the bat. Eovaldi has been, I think, a little bit just like too in the zone tonight. He's not really hitting the edges enough.
So Al got to 111, huh?
Yeah, 114.9 for Trout and 110.9 for Albert Pujols. So we'll call it 115 and 111. That's not great back to back.
So remember, there wasn't really a mystery for Eovaldi lately. In his last 6 starts, he had a sub-3 ERA and an opponent's on base of just 276. This wasn't happening.
No, and I don't know, it's hard to say from sitting here if the mixture has just changed or if the Angels are just doing a better job of it, but to me, it's just too many fastballs down the middle, and the secondary stuff isn't crisp enough. And we saw a couple of good splitters. We've also seen a lot of stuff just hanging in the zone, inviting the hitter to go after it.
Marte's had a good night, singled, homered. He was 0 for 2 in the series. Prior to that, you talked about his huge night against Detroit. 4 for 4 in that 11-9 win over the Tigers. Here's a good-looking fastball.
The Angels have really had to, with all the injuries, kind of just find guys where they can find them. They have 7 different guys on this roster, Marte included, who were minor league free agents or picked up on waivers or Rule 5, and that's a lot. I mean, that's where you patch the holes. It's not really where you build the core of your team. But we've seen some of these guys be successful. Marte, hit that home run. Petit hit a home run. They got a couple guys in the bullpen. Ortega made a nice throw from left field. They've gotten by with these guys, even though it's not really where you want to be.
So I have a question for you, Fernando, with regard to that. With the evolution of the way we can watch the game and track the game and advanced metrics, what Mike just said right there, a lot of fringe players that at least can help out in the major leagues, there have to be some advanced scouts still watching those guys in person, or no?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the advanced scouts are looking at guys to pick up in as players to be named later. They're trying to get as much value at all times. And, a lot of it is, if you're watching a guy and you feel that a guy is being undervalued by his club, you make a run at that guy. And, especially when teams are at, vulnerable points where they're, sort of desperate for pieces. That's the time where you say, hey, we can work on this trade, but I've been seeing Parmalee lately, and it looks like the swing is there, and maybe we have the right park for him to succeed, or perhaps in the next month we're going to face the right string of pitchers, or play in the right stadiums to maybe give this guy a chance to succeed. I mean, scouting is if you can imagine how impressive all the stats have gotten. Scouting itself is just it's just a totally different ballgame now.
I think you're absolutely right. For years there was this narrative, the scouts versus the stats, and how the stat people were trying to drive the scouts out of the game, and it's not really true. I think the only way to succeed is to get as much information as you can from any source. So any good team, sure, they've got a stats department, but they've also got a lot of scouts who are actually out there and seeing in person. And their good teams can kind of meld all that together. It's not really a war between one or the other. It's just how much information can you get. And I think you'll see the successful teams really take advantage of that.
5-4, the Angels lead it. No balls and 2 strikes to count on Johnny Giavotella, who is 0 for 2. Johnny's 3 for 26 in June. Was he proud of his Louisiana heritage, his New Orleans upbringing? He is a guy that had his family and the family business go through the struggles and the battles that many went through with Hurricane Katrina back in 2005. He was a college player, Giovitello was, at UNO, New Orleans at the time. Their entire baseball program was offered an opportunity to go to school and work out with the New Mexico baseball team, and Giovitello took it. Helped what he could with his family home, and then went kind of out of place, worked out with the team in New Mexico. And he came back, and he stayed home. That one popped to center field, so our Rockets, a couple of StatCast Rockets powered by Amazon Web Services. They're actually powered by Trout and Pujols.
As most hits from the Angels are, look at this, 115 miles an hour from Trout. That's his second hardest of the year. An absolute laser. 418 feet. Deepest part of the park right there, Any other park, maybe that's a home run. You look at Pujols, very next play, 111 miles an hour. Obviously, the angle is a little bit lower, so that's why only 330 feet. But I'm going to guess that those two balls hit back-to-back, combining miles per hour, the two hardest hit balls back-to-back of any team this season, because those were both just crushed.
Breaking ball never finished it. 1-0 the count to Rafael Ortega. He's had a great night. Doubled and scored. Singleton was stranded in the third.
So that pitch is so ineffective. Right now, you can entirely cross it, off. Right now, it's probably going to be a fastball here. Not. He gets over. He covers. Great splitter right there.
A couple of hard hit baseballs. You're right. Hard hit baseball there. Anthony Castrovents is standing by at the yard. Anthony, I know the first thing that's on your docket is continuing the conversation with Carlos Beltran, and not only his place with the team this year, his shocking season, but his place historically in the game as well.
Yeah, let's address this season first of all, because I think we kind of alluded earlier to the possibility, and as of now, it's just a possibility the Yankees end up selling some pieces this summer, and if they do, he'd be one of them. I think he could be one of the top bats available in this summer market as a pending free agent and a guy who's obviously having a resurgent season at age 39. He's been their biggest supplier of power here early on, and right off the bat, several clubs that would be a good fit for him. First of all, how fun would it be to have him go back to Kansas City, where it all started? That's a club that could use some outfield help, and some offensive help in general right now, with the Royals being so banged up. The Indians are another fit within that same division. The Giants, although I know some Giants fans will probably cringe at the thought of another Beltran trade, the way the first one worked out for them. But there's certainly a guy who would have value to them, with the injuries they've had. So I think you're going to hear a lot about this guy in the next couple of months.
Anthony, I think it's people haven't really noticed that Beltran has not only been pretty good, but he's been really good. Both this year and over the last year, he's been better than his career average. What has he done that's really allowed him to kind of have this production? Is it really just health? Is it just that the elbow isn't hurting anymore?
I really think so. We had a chance to talk to him before the game, and he said, it's the best he's felt in some time. I mean, there was a time where the knee was a big issue for him. He hasn't iced his knees in years. You mentioned the elbow. He says he only feels 39 when he looks in the mirror. But as far as coming to the park and how he feels, he looks great, he feels great, and it makes a big difference for him. So we know what this guy's been through physically at various points in his career. The one time he got to the World Series, he had the back issue there, and obviously that World Series didn't turn out the way he'd like. But this is a guy who, I was kind of talking about the trade value there. That's another thing people will point to is what he's done in the postseason stage in his career. So I know he's very hungry to get back there, especially at this age. He'd really like an opportunity to play for a contending club.
Anthony, you have heard the guys here talk a little bit about Greg Bird and Mark Teixeira and the impact of the injuries that it has had on this Yankees team. Shifting around, we've seen almost a tryout situation at first base. What's your assessment of the impact?
Yeah, it's interesting. When Greg Bird got hurt, or when it was announced that he'd have the shoulder surgery before the season started, it really gave you an ominous feeling with the Yankees club, just because you knew how fragile they were. Guys like Beltran, Teixeira, and A-Rod, obviously getting up there in years, and the value of that young position player talent, and a guy who had a really strong first impression last season is augmented all the more when that's the way your roster is set up. And it has come back to bite them. I mean, how valuable would Greg Bird be to them right now? He'd be huge for them with Mark Teixeira. And Teixeira was one of the worst performing regulars in the league before he got hurt. But now to be out without him for at least a month, and it sounds like it could even be longer than that. So Bird would have a lot of value. And you got to give credit to Rob Refsnyder, what he's doing this year, bouncing around positions and learning third base on the fly, and now learning first base on the fly. It's been quite a challenge for him, but he's handled it about as well as you could hope defensively. There's a guy whose bat is not going to play up to the level of a Greg Bird even, most likely over a large sample, but they're just trying to plug him in where they can.
Anthony Castorvins, our T-Mobile Greater Coverage reporter. Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you, guys.
So a pretty well-struck ball off the bat of Brian McCann. He is an out. He is 0 for 3. Starlin Castro now. 2-1 the count on Starlin.
101 miles an hour off the bat of Brian McCann. And yeah, it was an out. It was a hard hit out. I wouldn't say either pitcher has really been that impressive so far this year, as we see what's likely a grounder here. But I can say it could be worse. James Shields' first start so far, in 1+ inning, 3 homers and 6 earned runs allowed. So it could be worse.
Certainly could be. There you have it. Didi Gregorius takes his shots now. He is grounded out. He is popped out. 1 for 9 in the series. Didi's the kind of hitter when he goes quiet, there's not really a lifeboat to come out and save him because he just isn't patient.
Yeah, 3% walk rate, which is really, really below average. And doesn't have a lot of power. I don't think anybody expected him to. But, you know, he's also got one of the 7 or so lowest exit velocities this year. He just doesn't hit the ball hard. It's not his game. He's got a real strong arm. He's a good shortstop. But offensively, I think he's always going to be somewhat below average.
Change up, popped up. All right, pretty easy inning that time. There have been the bumps in the road, but there have been 2 clean innings for the veteran Jared Weaver. Step aside for a moment, but not to disappear, to show you some great stuff. This is the very best StatCast, the Angels and the Yankees in 2016.
Popped up, foul territory, long run for Simmons and Escobar. Simmons, a shortstop, he's got it.
Look how far he had to go. We're watching one of the all-time greats already. He hasn't played a whole lot of time, but already 2 gold gloves. The coverage he has to have, how quick. Slides and holds it on and maintains control of the baseball. Simmons, a special defender.
Jammed him, a little base hit to left. Being waved around as Nunez. Ortega's throw to the plate is in time. Rafael Ortega guns down Eduardo Nunez, keeping the Angels' lead intact.
What do we say about his arm strength? We saw it in spring training. One of the reasons why we thought he might make the club.
What a great throw from Ortega, right on the money to Hopper.
Fly ball left field. Hicks makes the catch. Valencia tags. Here's the throw. He's out. Oh, what a throw by Hicks.
Oh, does he have a great arm? He stayed in back of the ball to get momentum, approached it, caught it, and fired a strike.
Runner goes. Slide. Safe.
Nice.
He's still home.
Matt Moore, a left-handed pitcher, was not watching him. So his back is to him. He didn't check him, and here he comes.
That is a flat-out steal of home plate. Straight steal, not a double steal, and you don't see that very often.
Back at Yankee Stadium, Alden Gonzalez is also at Yankee Stadium, covers the Angels for MLB.com and does a great job. He's helped us out tonight. Trout and Pujols working together for the last couple of years in that starting lineup, and we have fun perspectives with the younger Pujols and Alden and the aging Mike Trout, all of 24 now. And these guys have worked together as friends and they've worked together as teammates. It's an interesting relationship statistically and personally, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think Albert Pujols, ever since kind of he got to the Angels, it's funny because Albert's first year with the Angels coincided with Mike Trout's ascension into stardom. And I think it was shortly after that that he kind of, I think he took it upon himself to kind of guide Mike Trout, because, I mean, I think the most fascinating thing about this dynamic is that there are few people in the world who understand what it's like to be so good at such a young age and have all the attention on you, all of the pressure on you. And Albert Pujols is probably one of the few people in the world who can actually, he can kind of cope with that. Like, he's been through that. That's who Albert Pujols was in his years in St. Louis. And, you talk about how well Mike Trout has handled being a superstar at such a young age and how humble he is and how he just kind of approaches each game. I think Albert Pujols has a lot to do with that. I think having Albert Pujols by his side and in that clubhouse definitely kind of rubs off on Mike. And, Mike's one of those guys, he gets along with everybody. Everybody just tends to like him, not just because he's really good. It's because he just has this kind of infectious personality about him. And, him and Albert have become really, really close over the years. I mean, they're completely different people. They come from completely different backgrounds, but they're really close.
Hey, Alden, I think nothing has really hurt the Angels this year more than the fact that they've had all these injuries in the rotation, especially Garrett Richards and Andrew Heaney, both dealing with elbow injuries. And you wrote recently that they're both trying this kind of stem cell sort of regrowth whatever procedure, or however you want to describe it, to avoid Tommy John surgery. What's the likelihood of them actually being able to avoid that surgery and coming back?
The thing is, and by the way, I was really inspired by Byron Hoke, so I'm going to try to throw in some play-by-play here in the middle. I thought that was really well handled by him.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
I don't want to catch
Bring
you
it.
off guard.
Get your money's worth. Do it.
Yeah, exactly. Why not? I don't think they know. There really isn't any literature that gives any sort of evidence as to the success rate of this kind of procedure. I spoke to 3 different doctors about this. 2 of them do this really actively. One of them claimed to have a 90% success rate in terms of injecting stem cells into a pitcher's ulnar collateral ligament. But he said he was also very choosy with his patients. I think there were several reasons why Garrett and Andrew both decided to have this. The first one was their last outings before finding out that they had tears in their UCL. It wasn't one of those situations where they threw the ball and they just all of a sudden felt something in their arm and they had to come out. Andrew Heaney finished 6 innings in that last start. His velocity went down, but he was able to keep pitching. Garrett Richards was pitching in Texas. He came out a little bit early, but he continued to pitch. And, I think that was part of the reason. And I think part of the reason, too, was I think you're starting to see pitchers now gravitate toward that 16 to 18-month recovery from Tommy John as opposed to 12 to 14 months. And if they were on that 16 to 18-month plan, they felt like there was a very good chance that they were going to miss all of 2017 anyway. So they didn't feel like they were really wasting much time by undergoing this stem cell route. So I think that's why, part of the reason why they underwent it. And there's a base hit to right center field by the Angels. So I feel like they weren't really wasting much time. And one thing that all the doctors agreed on about this stem cell therapy is that there isn't much risk because you're using parts of your own body. They're extracting stem cells from your own bone marrow. So there isn't really much in the way of risk when you do this. The only thing that some people worry about, and this was what one doctor touched on that I spoke to, is surgery is always the best route. And the thing that you worry about with the Angels, the worst case scenario, is that they try the stem cell route and they start pitching for a little while, and then 6 months later, they're back to where they were before. That would be catastrophic to this Angels organization, and that's what they're hoping does not come of this.
Alden, thank you. Nathan Eovaldi is gone from this game. He goes 5 1/3. He gives up 10 hits, 5 runs, all earned, 1 walk, and 4 strikeouts. So we appreciate it. Good play-by-play, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks.
Well done. Call to the bullpen made. That's Swarzak. He was warming earlier. Anthony Swarzak was warming in the pen for the Yankees.
You rarely see the pitcher come in and do so much talking. I mean, he was running that entire meeting. It's so rare.
He's making his Yankees debut. This is a right-hander that has pitched in the big leagues for the Minnesota Twins from 2009 until 2014. He was an Indian last year, and again, just a little bit of time with Cleveland last year. Twins second-round pick in 2004.
I assume all the talking was, "Hi, I'm Anthony. Here's what I throw."
Yeah, added today, right?
Yeah, it's his Yankee debut, as you said. I'd be surprised if he'd ever really thrown him at maybe in spring training, but You know, this is a guy who is, I guess for lack of a better term, a guy. You know, he can eat up some innings. The Yankees have had some injuries in the bullpen. He basically throws a four-seam and a slider. That's about it. In his favor, he has really no career platoon splits. So now like he's only got to face righties. He can hopefully eat up some innings here. And I think this was kind of, you know, predicted the way Eovaldi was really throwing so many pitches. We were going to see a lot of Yankee relievers.
So 5-4 is the score. The Angels have 10 hits in this game. And again, as we told you, names like Marte pitching in and Ortega pitching in. Petit with a pair of hits. Now Calhoun and Trout and Pujols have gotten theirs too.
Yeah, let's see, 6 of the 9 starters for the Angels have at least 1 hit. 4 of them have 2 hits. So, you know, really, it's been kind of up and down the lineup against Eovaldi.
Yunel Escobar. He's 0 for 3. He's the one who's been just looking in the candy store. He hasn't come in to have something sweet, meaning a base hit. He's been peeking in the window. He'd like to grab something right now.
It's kind of rare to see a guy like Escobar play for as long as he has and really remake his game. Right, if you look at the first 7 years of his career, mostly with the Braves and the Jays and the Rays, he was a league average hitter, like almost on the nose, a league average hitter, and that's fine. You're a good enough shortstop, an average hitter, that's a valuable player. The last 2 years he's been with the Nationals and the Angels, and all of a sudden he's been 20% above league average. His on-base percentage is up, his slugging percentage is up, and it goes back to what we say all the time about these guys: swing more at strikes. Right? His zone swinging percentage, percentage of swings inside the zone in the first portion of his career is 65%. The last 2 years, 74%. It's like the best thing you can do is to swing at hittable pitches. It's really changed his career.
Down off the end of the bat, making contact, and he's rewarded for that soft contact.
Good read by Petit there, despite the light deke.
I'd love to know the numbers on that. You always put together the exit velocity and the launch angle on one like that.
Yeah, or takes a minute or two to come in. We'll get there. I'm going to guess.
Your donut hole, your black hole.
That's absolutely right. That is the donut hole, right?
Right.
The donut hole it's kind of that situation where you hit it somewhat softly, but at an angle where it gets over the infield, and that if you actually had hit it harder, it would carry to the outfielder and be out. It's that situation where hitting it harder is not necessarily a good thing at that launch angle. And here we go, 70 miles an hour off the bat, 30-degree launch angle. Now, if you hit that ball a little bit harder, it's an out. Hit the ball a lot harder, it's home run.
There are a lot of guys that swear by standing in the box as if you've hit a home run when you hit a ball that's a blooper like that, to just get those outfielders to hesitate for a moment. You can buy yourself a hit. Many guys do it. It's not like you're going to get a double anyway. It's kind of worth the gamble.
But do they bat flip?
These games are played. It's actually it's very, very similar to, a pitcher over grunting, like tennis grunting when he throws a changeup. It works, just anything that you can do to get an inch on the opponent, especially when you don't have it.
0-2 the count. Our T-Mobile, greater coverage. That camera peeks down the first base line and into Cole Calhoun.
That's such a great angle. I would love nothing more than for Cole Calhoun to hit a double right down the line.
Right down the line, yeah.
You mean right at our T-Mobile greater coverage cam?
That's exactly right.
All set up by you. Cole, not a huge product professionally out of high school, out of Buckeye High School in the outskirts of Phoenix. So he went to Yavapai Junior College, Yavapai Community College, which just this past week won the Junior College National Championship.
They are a powerhouse in many sports, soccer as well, Yavapai.
I was wondering why I had Yavapai College in my notes, and that is where Kirby Yates went to, Yankee reliever, Yavapai College.
I have another young man, JoJo Romero, who will be drafted very high. He was the decisive game winner in the championship game against San Jacinto in Texas, another very storied program. And by the way, just to pat the company on the back, you watched it right here on MLB.com. If you did watch it, we were excited to be out there calling those games. That's why I know so much about it. Another night, after 6 really good nights, a night of frustration again. Eovaldi turns back into the curious pitcher as he gives way. Spoils a good 2-strike fastball away. That's what good hitters do, right? That's an ugly swing for a purpose.
Just get a little bit of bat on it, just a touch. Something that a lot of guys actually will practice with pitching machines. Just that skill of just putting enough bat on it that you waste it.
As far as like the kind of guy that can be stretched out if you need it. Not a one into the locker room type relief pitcher, especially when you go back to the last couple of years. He was used like that a lot in Minnesota.
And they may need him too. Andrew Miller pitched the last 2 nights and 3 of the last 4. Dellin Betances has pitched 2 of the last 3 nights. Chapman had gone 3 nights in a row before yesterday. So really the guys who are quote-unquote fresh, Swarzak, Kirby Yates, Nick Goody, and Richard Blyer, who hasn't pitched in several days.
Into the catcher's mitt it goes, and down goes Cole Calhoun, and frustrated with that one.
Yeah, I can't believe he missed it.
McCann comes out to have a conversation about the man about to get in the box. And there's that man.
What's scary about Mike Trout, I mean, a lot of things are scary about what he's doing at such a young age. He is having his worst season this year. And I mean that in the best possible way because he's still crushing the ball. He is 60% above league average, right? And it's one of the best in baseball, but he's always been 67%, 76%, 72%. So it's still kind of consistent. It's just funny to say, here's a guy with a .533 slugging and a .409 on base percentage, and it's below his usual standards. It's unreasonable how good he's been.
Stance is a little bit different this year.
How so?
You know, it just looks different to the naked eye. He's a little bit. I mean, he's always stood straight up, but to me, it looks like the leg kick is a little bit more slight. He's in his setup. He's standing a little bit taller. The front foot is a little bit more active, which is basically priming the leg kick. It's like a pre-leg kick leg kick. It just looks different. You know, this is a guy that now we've seen him play for so long. You just have the snapshot of what he looks like in the box. It's not too much different, but it's a little bit different.
Is it possible that he gets overlooked? Because he's so great. I mean, without any hyperbole, he is historically great, and it just seems like it's almost ho-hum at this point.
That's a good point. And then you see why a guy like Cole Calhoun, you know, gets overlooked for as good as he's been.
So we're certainly glad you're hanging out with us, but this isn't the only place that we are watching baseball. We're watching it all around the league, and let's get things started with our fast cast on what's going on around Major League Baseball. Cubs are in Philly leading 1-0 top of the 6th. Chris Bryant, Andrew Bailey, 2-run homer, 432 feet. The Cubs are up 3-0, 14th of the season. Cubs have gone to win this one 8-1, 41-17 now. Blue Jays in Detroit taking on the Tigers. Game tied at 2. Josh Donaldson. That's a 3-run launch against Jordan Zimmerman. Blue Jays up 5-2. They go on to win it 7-2. Donaldson finishing a double shy of the cycle. Cardinals and Cincy leading 4-3 over the Reds. In the bottom of the 4th, Zach Kozar. Jaime Garcia, he blasts his 9th home run against Garcia. Left center field ties the game at 4. The score is currently, as we take a peek up there, 6-5. The Cardinals. Mets in Pittsburgh. Score tied at 2. Bottom of the 4th, John Jaso. RBI double to left off of Noah Syndergaard. The game is now tied at 3-3 in that one in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh swept the doubleheader yesterday. Royals in Baltimore taking on the Orioles. Game 0-0. Ryan Flaherty, a 2-run double to right off of Edinson Volquez, give the O's a 2-0 lead. And the O's have added on as they currently lead in that one by a score of 4-0. Back at Yankee Stadium, Mr. Weaver still out there working. He survived the early battle of attrition between these two pitchers. We wonder who would last because there was some offense early and often in this one.
Well, survive is the right way to put that, isn't it? He's not. I can't really say he's been dominant, although but he's in the top of the sixth. I guess it's a little further than I expected him to get. So if he can get through one more inning, not that 4 runs in 6 innings, this is really something to strive for. But in this ballpark, with his history here, it's probably about as best you can hope for.
Well, when he's throwing balls on purpose. I mean, he's just trying to be really, really careful. We saw, that 3-2 pitch that he was just not really interested in challenging up, deciding to go to the next matchup. It's just the way that he's throwing his game. I mean, he's going to come out when he's just getting hit way too hard. And, he's been able to scatter it and survive, just as we're saying, aren't that many, great options behind him. And then, on the other side, Eovaldi just wasn't efficient. And his control has been so suspect that, once he's getting some guys on, you're not sure that he's going to be able to avoid a walk and, get into serious trouble. Whereas, Weaver, you trust the guy with the bases loaded. He's not going to walk somebody. They might hit a homer, but not going to walk anybody.
You were saying they might hit a homer, and they hit it into the second deck. He went down and got it. Chris Parmelee, who had also doubled, shows that big league power that he's not afraid to flash. We're tied at 5. Seven home runs in AAA this year. 4 home runs in the big leagues last year.
74-mile-an-hour changeup, low in the zone. I mean, that is the happy spot for a left-handed hitter. Especially that changeup didn't get that much movement on it. I mean, that's a batting practice right there. 104 miles an hour off the bat, 372 feet. I mean, when you're Chris Parmelee, this is his first game, not of the season, but the first time he's hit this season. That's exactly what you're hoping for. And as you said, when you're making a first impression, sometimes that one big home run, that can really kind of help you out. And that just tied up the game there. That's huge for him.
Fly ball left.
Just
waiting
missed.
An awful long time. Torres, you said it, he did just miss it. Torres is 0 for 3. Parmelee guy's 114 minor league home runs, and that's why you keep getting the phone call.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to hit home runs in the minor leagues. I mean, the batter's eyes are not very good. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that is the background, which hopefully is black so that you can pick up the white ball when you're hitting. Batter's eyes are not so great across the minor leagues, and you're taking buses. It's difficult. It's difficult to do it, and so people do not take that lightly. When you can put it together a season of 20 or 30 home runs in the minor leagues, it's really impressive.
And Parmelee, he was in as a defensive replacement a couple of games this week and made some really nice catches at the stands on pop flies. So he's got some defensive chops. He's got some power, Darren, as you said. It's just always been about, can he get to that power? Can he make enough contact? It's kind of what's kept him out of the big leagues for so many years. And this is the opportunity and then some. He's never going to get another opportunity like this.
898 career minor league games.
Yeah, you should draw that line in the sand and say you're never going back. Never going back.
Two balls and 2 strikes to count on Jacoby Ellsbury. He's been on all 3 times, double, homer, and he reached on catcher's interference. His specialty, as we have learned, back in the 4th inning.
One of our data experts, Andrew Simon, just made a great point to me. Think about the guys who are in this game. You got Trout, Pujols, A-Rod, Beltran. Who are the home runs from tonight? Ellsbury, Parmelee, Petit, and Marte.
A thought that I'm having as I'm watching Weaver is, today with you know, the pitch tracking systems that we have, et cetera, and umpires are getting better at calling the game as a computer would call it. You know, as you see, Weaver does not like, you know, not getting that call. That's 2 calls in that at-bat that he hates. You know, to be a veteran pitcher, a soft-throwing veteran pitcher 10 years ago, you're getting those calls, right? I mean, Greg Maddux made his career that way, getting, you know, an extra ball or 4 off each side of the plate. It was just, you know, a foregone conclusion. Now, you know, Weaver's going to come out of this game right now. He's going to say something to the umpire. We'll probably not see. I think it's just not really the day for a veteran pitcher, you know, throwing at the end of his career without his greatest stuff.
I think Chris Parmelee's home run, we're going to take a look at it, the StatCast version, which is powered by Amazon Web Services, Mike.
Look at this ball. All right, it's going to be a changeup, and you know, 75 mile an hour. It's kind of right in the happy spot there for Chris Parmelee. So when he gets that ball, he knows exactly what to do with it, especially as a lefty in Yankee Stadium. 105 miles an hour, pretty good, but that launch angle, as you said, 25 to 30 is the home run happy spot. That's exactly what he does. That short porch in right field. Guys can make a career out of doing that. A left-handed hitter in Yankee Stadium who's a decent enough glove at first base, you know, you can make a career doing that, and he's making a pretty good first impression.
Yeah, hitting a mistake. I mean, you see how important it is when you miss that spot. He's out in front there. So if Weaver hits his spot there, that ball's staying in the yard. That's probably going to center field, something like that. But you know, hitting mistakes is really all you need to do. You're basically living for those mistakes, trying to convert them.
Jose Alvarez gets the call from the bullpen. The southpaw in a 5-5 game, Angels and Yankees. Alvarez began his professional career, native of Venezuela, back in 2005, signed with the Yankees as a free agent. Pitched a lot last year for this team, had opponents' batting average of just .228 against in 67 innings of work. Had a 3.5 ERA. 10 runs and 20 hits between these two. When you ask Gardner to face a left-handed pitcher, Mike, he's just a different hitter this year.
Yeah, it's kind of a big deal, especially, you know, you talk about kind of the platoon splits here for Alvarez. Against righties in his career, .467 slugging, against lefties, .338. He is, if not a loogie, because I don't think he's here for just one at bat, he is here for the lefties, right? He's here for Gardner, probably going to get Beltran to turn around, and then if he hasn't gotten out of the inning, then maybe he still gets A-Rod. So this is his job.
4.5 ERA and 29th appearance now. Opponents hitting .304 against Alvarez. And he misses, and that's something that's changed for him this year. You're just so effective when you come out of the bullpen. It can't always be a fastball down the middle, but his first pitch strike percentage has come down about 6% from last year, down to just above 60%.
That's a strike you want to get on a guy that's probably not going to swing at it, right?
That's exactly right. It blows my mind that anybody wouldn't throw him first pitch strike.
You guys touched on it earlier. Brett Gardner is a taking son of a gun. He's a pitch count guy. Cam Bedrosian, by the way, is also warming, the younger, harder thrower, right-handing pitcher in the bullpen.
I found myself accidentally standing in front of his locker while looking at my phone, and he was very polite in asking me to move.
I'm sorry, whose locker?
Mr. Bedrosian's.
Okay. Got on a line in the left center field. That's a base hit. Petit couldn't get up there. He tried to go up the ladder, kicked for just a bit, maybe an extra step or two. But Ellsbury tries to stay put, so a walk and then a single. And hey, that lefty split, you can throw that to the wind right there. That had to feel good for Gardner.
That's why he likes taking. He has confidence that he can, he can deliver late in the count.
That's a pretty swing.
That's a nice swing, yeah. Very simple. Staying inside the ball, shooting it the other way. He's not overpowering velocity there, so you can have that approach basically every time.
102 off the bat there, and like we said, a lot of hard hit balls tonight. Like a lot of hard hit balls. We've done some of these games where balls are dropping in and guys are getting hit. Like we did Julio Urias his first start, and he was getting hit, but he wasn't getting hit hard. They were just dropping in. This is totally different. These are guys who are just crushing, lasers left and right, both sides really.
Opens up a little bit early, hits it a mile high, not necessarily deep.
Beltran's splits are pretty similar, but if there's a side that you want to pick, to face him as, it's probably the right side. But not much of a difference.
He was, as we on the eve of the draft, talk about draft picks. Beltran, second round pick in '95 of the Royals. And in that second round, Jared Washburn, if you remember the Angels' left-handed pitcher, Sean Casey, now works on the air here. The number 1 overall pick that year was Darren Erstad. But a second round pick in '95.
Famous punter, Darren Erstad.
Famous punter now. College baseball coach as we get ready for Super Regionals.
Even though that was a foul ball, Beltran got some good wood on it. 99 miles an hour, went 361 feet.
On the foul ball?
On the foul ball. We can track that.
Well, I knew you could.
That's a really nice block there by Perez. He hasn't seen this guy. Probably hasn't caught this guy in weeks, except for the bullpen. That's a big block there, keeping the runners where they are.
And that means first and second, that's where they are. Line drive, base hit, left field. There's one. Into third goes Gardner. And the Yankees take a 6-5 lead. Another few words in the fabulous chapter of the fabulous book of the career of Carlos Beltran. Things have not gone well out of the bullpen for this move. And a struggle for Alvarez.
The injuries, the run of injuries that the Angels have sustained, it extends to the bullpen. Joe Smith just went on the DL with a hamstring injury. Houston Street had been out for a while. He's back. They're kind of limited in what they have down there. And if you look at the bullpen, I don't think this was, quote unquote, the wrong move from Scioscia. I think it was just the move he had available to him at the time. And they don't always work out. He's got a great reputation, but they had 4 guys pitch last night. Salas and Bedrosian and Molly and Warren, they all pitched last night. Had to do something, and now here comes another one.
So I know we're not always in the business of counting stats. That's 516 career doubles for Beltran. Give us the player's perspective. I worked a long time with Mark Grace, who reached that 500 doubles mark, and he always explained, the value of a home run certainly, but 500 times or more to hit a double. That man's well over that mark.
Well over that mark, you can tell. You see these young guys that haven't played very long. They cruise into second base with the double, and they do the dance back to the dugout, and they've got about 40 career ones, and this is a guy that's done it 500 times. Strolling up to second base, they've done that 500 or so times.
Chris Parmalee knocked one out of here. It was his first home run in the big leagues this year, and our StatCast replay powered by Amazon Web Services.
Yeah, like I said, that combination of exit velocity and launch angle, it's just about perfect. You get it over 100 between 25 and 30. It's not always a home run, but you're almost always going to get something good out of it, especially at that short right field porch at Yankee Stadium.
You find your teammates and you find that top step when you're homer, right? Stand by your manager, your hitting coach, your teammates.
Get some camera time, kid.
We talked about how big this opportunity is. I mean, they're not going to come around very often, whether he ends up with another team doing this, but a man out of Chino Hills High School, who, as you mentioned, in 2006, so a decade ago, was a first-round pick.
The big left-handed bat, you know, in the draft, I mean, there have just been so many, and the left-handed swing, it just looks so good. You see it in batting practice, you think you're seeing the future, and not always so. You think of a bunch of left-handed hitters that didn't quite pan out. Sean Burrows, Mike Jacobs, all these guys that look like they were going to be the guy, but it's pretty difficult.
He had a moonshot earlier, though, certainly. Bedrosian comes on. The numbers much more solid this year for a man who was trying to find the strike zone when he first made his way to the big leagues. Striking out more than a batter an inning. Effectiveness, just command has changed for him.
Yeah, he's really made a big step forward this year. Like you said, strikeout percentage is up from 21 to 28. He's kind of dumped the changeup. The changeup wasn't really working for him, and he's increased the usage of the slider. Slider percentage up from 18% to 2 years ago to 25%, and now it's up to 30%. The slider's pretty good, and so when you take this above-average fastball he's got, 95 miles an hour with high spin, and you include a slider, that's a pretty good combination.
Infield was drawn in a step or two. So that's an easy chance to Aaron in the end. Ranging to his right is Petit, and he turns that one into an out. Runners stay put on second and third. Now, whether he likes you in front of his locker or not, I'm not sure, but I think he's a guy that they've been maybe rushed was the word you'd use early, but now they have been patient, and I think they're going to be rewarded.
I think so,
It's a big arm.
Yeah.
He was an Angels first-round pick in 2010, Bedrosian. 29th overall pick. Georgia high school star. It's Steve Bedrosian, a long and effective career in the major leagues.
Yeah.
Cam's not quite as tall in stature.
Yeah, must be really, really interesting as his pitching coach, because he definitely has a pitching coach already.
Second round pick of the Braves in 2002, Brian McCann, and a local product. They drafted him from just up the road, out of Duluth, Georgia. That was a fun second round. Swings right over the top of that one. That second round included Joey Votto, Jesse Crane, John Lester. Those are all second round picks in 2002.
And there's that slider we just saw from Bedrosian, and he's using it more, and it's a really good pitch. And he's got just two pitches, right? The four seam and the slider. But if you have a high velocity, high spin four seamer, and you've got a good secondary pitch, that's enough. That's enough to get by as a reliever. You don't really need more than that. If you have more than that, great. Maybe it'll make you an elite reliever. But he looks like a guy who can have a nice long career there.
Breaking ball, lined left field.
Look at you.
Well, he stayed back nicely on that one and hit it hard. Brian McCann is hitting it the other way, and with emphasis, and that was not a bad pitch.
No, it really wasn't. I mean, we'll see the replay probably in a second, but that looked like the slider, and maybe a little bit too much of the plate it caught there, but McCann, he's a guy who's been hitting those for years. It's a really nice piece of hitting.
It's amazing.
Good extension at 6'1", a slider at 81, spin rate 26-24.
I mean, that's not a bad pitch. It's the call is obviously the wrong call. If you see a pitch that is not even a strike, I mean, that's out of the strike zone. He's trying to throw that pitch there. And if you see a pitch like that get hit that hard, I mean, the call is wrong.
Starling Castro's 0 for 3.
Another nice block by Perez.
Yeah, you bet.
Remember how many of these Yankee games we did earlier in the year, and we kept talking about how the Yankees just couldn't score, they couldn't score. It's an 8-run explosion in the 6th inning, and they've actually had a couple of games in a row this week where they've been able to put up some runs. Which is interesting because it's not like they've gotten a lot of guys back from injury. If anything, they've lost to Shera. Headley has kind of turned it around, but not that much. They've gotten some interesting contributions from up and down the lineup here.
Yeah, it's not an anemic offense. It's just an offense that isn't. You don't have that many guys that are just gonna hit through every month. You don't have that many guys, but definitely a decent offensive team, and definitely capable of putting up runs.
It finally ends, and there was a lot of offense for the Yankees. We need to know what you've been talking about out there. Ashley Chavez, what are you finding out, Ashley?
Well, I've been having a ton of nervous fans on both sides for a very long time, as you can imagine. And then after that Parmalee homer and then Beltran RBI, things changed for the Yankees fans. So I'll just say it all in one group. There was a lot of hearts, emojis with hearts in their eyes, a lot of yays and a lot of exclamation points. So that's what we got going right now. But I'm going to read you 2 excellent tweets right now. So let's get started. The first one is from David Adler. He says, Jacoby Ellsbury, the active leader in catcher's interferences, now has 20 in his career. The only other player ever with 20 plus, if you can even believe it, Pete Rose with 29. Now before, Meg, I want you to talk about that. Before we get into that, I want to read my favorite tweet of all time ever. This is from Dave Beer Maven Evans. What is this hashtag MLB Plus? I have never enjoyed a broadcast so much, at least a 10 broadcasts above replacement show. What do you think?
I think that's pretty good. Thank you, Beer Maven. We appreciate that very much.
I love it. But back to the catcher's interferences. Maybe you can speak to that.
Yeah, well, we talked about it a little bit. It's so weird that it can't even be an accident. It's just the way he sets up. And I remember reading about it that other teams were telling their catchers to move back so that they didn't get caught up in that. And I kind of wondered if that would hurt them in the running game. And it just doesn't happen enough to really kind of put numbers to. But it's really interesting to see that happens when he's up.
Beer Maven.
Canadian Beer Maven. I like that.
Thank you, Beer Maven. We have new metrics.
We are above replacement level. That's good. I'm glad in his eyes we're at least above the league average and above replacement level. Good night to have some music playing at the ballpark, have the energy turned up, have a guy that you can, while you score some extra runs, stretch out. And that's what Swarzak, when things got a little crazy, you mentioned the usage rate for some of those guys out of the pen. Suddenly one of the little side stories becomes the work of Swarzak in his Yankees debut this year.
Yeah, it kind of has to be because you would like to think 7, 8, 9. Well, there's Miller, Betances, and Chapman. But as we said before, a lot of the guys have been used. You can't really get into that trio right now. You're going to have to get into the Richard Blyers and the Swarzaks and the Nick Goodies. And obviously you have those guys in reserve if things get a little tight. But this has kind of been the issue for the Yankees all year, is this middle part of the bullpen getting to that back end.
3-run lead for the Yankees. Albert has to spin out of the way. He doubled in a run, went down and got a pitch, hit it off the wall and left back in the 5th inning. Albert's got 3 hits and 10 at-bats in this series.
Well, you got to challenge Mr. Pujols here. Not good to have a walk here, up 3.
Still 5 years and $141 million on this contract after this season. That is one they're going to be feeling for a long time, I think.
Right-handers see that same shift, and we see it all the time now, especially with the Yankees. Albert hits it right into that shift, though the third baseman would have been standing there anyway. Anthony Castrovince has stepped back in with us, where the Yankees tonight have to juggle things a little bit, and they certainly are getting the help they want. A little bit of huge relief work at this point for Swarzak, but this is a bullpen that in the second tier, boy, you have to have a guy like Kirby Yates that's important, and a guy like Swarzak that can help.
Yeah, that's kind of what we said going into the season was they've assembled this once-in-a-lifetime kind of back end of the bullpen, but do they have the pieces beyond that? Do they have the pieces for games like this? Because this is a rotation that had a lot of health issues going into the year, so it was very much an open question whether to get much length out of the rotation. So those middle innings are very important to them.
Anthony, Miller, Betances, and Chapman, how many of them are wearing pinstripes after the trade deadline?
Great question. Yeah, I'm my best guess, 2 out of the 3. First of all, I feel like I should apologize to any Yankees fans watching this broadcast because they're probably like, man, my team's finally getting some traction in the last few days, and this guy's out here, trying to trade everybody. But obviously the bullpen is a talking point in the industry right now because, especially with Chapman, being a free agent at year's end, it's a natural conversation. Miller's name has been discussed a lot so far, but at the same time, you got to think how valuable this guy's been to the Yankees, and his contract paying him about, I think it's $9 million to the next 2 seasons. I mean, that's a very, very beautiful contract right now in today's game, especially the predominance of bullpen. So, but Chapman is a guy I think they could discuss quite a bit and probably get, arguably in season when teams get desperate and teams are in the hunt, probably get a better package back than the Yankees gave up to the depth in the first place. I wouldn't put it past them. Think about the Nationals. The Cubs could certainly use a dominant lefty reliever right now. The Rangers could use bullpen help. The Mariners could use bullpen help. The Giants could use some help from that side. So a lot of potential fits there. But, it's hard to say right now because the Yankees are playing a little bit better of late. But they've got really, really valuable trade chips. And, again, we keep talking about that need to inject the system with some young talent, and this is the way to do it.
Anthony, thank you very much for joining us to talk about the pen. Things went very nicely that half inning. And we appreciate you talking Yankees pen with us. 5-3 on the ground out. So there's the work you were looking for, and you got it.
Yeah, pretty impressive.
Did a very nice job.
We talked about good first impressions for Parmalee, and I think that applies to Anthony Swarzak too, because beyond those big 3 guys at the back of the bullpen, there is just nothing but opportunity beyond that. Anybody can really step up and say, I'm the guy you want, helping you to get to the big 3. Pretty nice job by Swarzak there in his first opportunity.
We're certainly glad you're hanging out with us tonight, watching the Yankees and the Angels this broadcast MLB Plus, and enjoying it. Statcast version, though, so if you just logged on and you might be asking what exactly are we doing, well, we'll tell you right now.
Several years of research and development were realized in 2014 with the debut of MLB.com's Statcast, the first ever reliable measurement of every play on a baseball field. Pioneered by MLB Advanced Media and debuted with prototypes at the 2014 All-Star Game, League Championship Series, and World Series, Statcast's roots can be traced back roughly a decade earlier to MLB's introduction of pitch tracking. Pitch tracking delivered a never-before-seen wealth of detailed information regarding every pitch thrown in the major leagues. Though a bold move at the time, today, pitch tracking technology is ubiquitous throughout broadcast television and baseball's digital products. But despite the data compiled on pitching, never before have there been reliable defensive statistics. The goal with Statcast was to leverage the technology to ensure that defense could be quantified and that a more complete picture of our game be made available to fans. To that end, all 30 ballparks have been outfitted with 2 distinctly different but collaborative technologies to allow for the data capture, optical tracking, and radar tracking. High-definition video camera arrays spaced 15 meters apart to capture stereoscopic video, and a 3D Doppler radar system which captures 2,000 samples per second of the entire baseball field. By marrying the data from each of these systems, it is now possible to scientifically quantify the skills and talents of players on the field using new player performance metrics.
So it definitely is a night to be a Yankee. And the Yankees putting their offense together in this Statcast production. The Angels having to go to the bullpen fairly early and often. Greg Mahle comes out, Los Alamitos, California native, UC Santa Barbara, right there on the banks of the Pacific. The Angels. 15th round pick in 2014 as a gaucho. 23 years old, the southpaw.
Did you happen to see what Greg Mahle did in the game last night?
Tell us.
I
Did you see it?
I saw it. What can you tell us about it?
Greg Mahle, I don't even remember who was hitting, but it doesn't really matter.
It was Mr.
Gardner. It was Gardner, okay. Greg Mahle throws over and behind his head, and no malicious intent at all. Just a pitch that completely got away from him, went past him to the backstop and put a hole in the advertisement right behind home plate. Greg Mahle, I've never really seen a pitcher like this. He's got two very distinct release points, right? He kind of throws his sinker and his slider in a sidearm way, but then his four-seamer and his changer, not quite over the top, but more of a three-quarters motion. It's really interesting. You don't usually see guys with such very distinct release points because you'd think you would be tipping off the hitters who clearly must know that.
So he comes on for the 24th time this year.
What I loved about the play is that the umpire afterward made him throw 2 strikes to get 1 strike.
Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, one of the worst feelings that you can have as a hitter is when, a pitcher throws one at your head, and, even if it's an accident, he throws one by your head, and then the next pitch is painted on the black. What are you supposed to do with that? But a lot of times, the umpire won't reward him for that. And, yesterday it was the same thing with Mahle. He made him throw 2 strikes down the middle and, awarded him with 1.
There was some funk in that delivery. You're exactly right.
He's got these 4 pitches. He's got the four-seam, the sinker, the slider, and the change, and he throws them basically equally, 25% apiece. So it's kind of hard to know which is coming, except he makes it a little easier on you just based on what arm slot it comes out at. That immediately cuts out 50% of those possible pitches. See, there he goes and drops down. And we saw earlier that he had a pitch from 3/4. It's really unique, and I can't name another pitcher who goes like that. You ever seen a guy like that?
In the minor leagues.
Yeah.
In the minor leagues, you see a lot of stuff like that. In the minor leagues is where guys are developing that. My guess, I don't know Greg Mahle, but my guess is that he, threw just like that, like he just threw that pitch there his entire life, and that started to be ineffective. From there on, that's where guys are basically learning to try to figure out anything to just get guys out, get outs, and you can end up here on TV in Yankee Stadium if you get outs.
I'm guessing it's one of those things where it's like there's the right way and the wrong way, but the wrong way actually gets you more success. So I might as well just stick with doing that.
Yeah. A lot of times guys will find ways to get outs that hurts their arm and decide it's worth it. For a lot of guys, a year in the big leagues is worth destroying an elbow.
Didi Gregorius has himself his first hit of the night. 1 for 4, went out and got that one. Now 2 for 11 on this series against the Angels. Nice job out there, by the way, by Ortega. That almost slipped right on by him. Been there, Fernando, that in between decisions that you have to make as an outfielder, when off the bat you think I'm going to make a good play here.
Yeah, well, he kept going through the end. A lot of times when guys will, as they say, alligator arm it a little bit, when, the confidence, it's basically, the alligator arm is confidence leaving the body, in real time. And that's when the ball goes right through you to the fence, and you're on SportsCenter for the wrong reason.
Chris Parmelee will be on for the right reasons tonight because he has doubled and he has homered. He struck out back in the 2nd inning. What's Chris doing there? Is he trying to beat the shift again? No, there's no such thing unless it's a crucial situation, and then it usually doesn't happen there either, of a sacrifice bunt.
There's just no right answer to shift or not.
That's what he wants to do.
Yeah, exactly right.
He wants to crush the deep right. There's your bunt.
He's buying himself a fastball is what he's doing.
There's your bunt. Parmelee puts the Yanks up 5. Bunt.
Well, if Chris Parmelee is the MVP down the stretch, this is the game that made it all happen.
I think they're already looking for a space out in Monument Park for Chris Parmalee the way he's hitting. You talk about good first impressions. I mean, I think this will do it, right? 108 miles an hour off the bat.
He's probably going to get a curtain call. I mean,
he deserves it.
There are probably not that many Yankee fans still present, but he might be out there for a curtain call.
Off a lefty too. I mean, no doubt about that. That's a really nice piece of hitting. He got all. I think he's. It's one game. I don't want to say he's found a home, but he's in the right spot at the right time.
Found a home for now. He's at least done a.
Trying not to smile ear to ear.
He earned it.
Yeah. Good for you.
He's earned himself like a 1-month lease, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's found a permanent home.
$25 hits in this game. It's only the 7th inning.
Started heavy and thick, and really there haven't been many quiet innings in between. Bolt to third. Off the bag, and he does not get him. Escobar fires wide, though it was hit really hard. He did come up with it.
This is just the opposite of what you expect from a Mike Scioscia team, right? Like, that's always been the reputation that they quote-unquote play the game the right way, and obviously he's had a ton of success there, but maybe it's just because they've been forced to fill in with so many guys who weren't really expected to be part of the team. I know Escobar is obviously their strength third baseman. It's not the Angels team you expect to see out there.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you're out fielding for a very, very long time, just get a little lackadaisical, but that is, it's 2 bad defensive lapses for Escobar in 2 days. I think he probably just needs a day off. I mean, it's a long season, and from time to time, it just needs to be paused for individual players.
Jacoby's had a good night. Been on 4 times. He scored 3 times. He's homered 1 time.
Really surprising that Escobar hasn't been playing shortstop in the absence of Andrelton Simmons. Tells you a little bit about the kind of player Petit is.
Is he a better shortstop?
I mean, Escobar, he was kind of a shortstop of the future, and moved over to third.
Let's take a look at our Parmalee StatCast replay powered by Amazon Web Services.
You can even see from that angle what a nice swing that was. 108 miles an hour off the bat. 20-degree launch angle, it's a little bit lower than you expect for really nice hit home runs. And so that's why it went 384 feet, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're hitting it to right field at Yankee Stadium, that's all you need.
And that was a terrible pitch. He was just fastball hunting. I mean, that was not even close to a strike. It just shows you. I mean, when you are committed to fastball hunting, you put a good swing on a fastball, and you're going to be in good shape.
There's another little, it's not even going to be an error. He just double clutched on that turn at second base. Gardner's fast, maybe it wouldn't have been a double play anyway, but they had the chance. They could have been out of the inning right there.
Yep.
And they really should have been ready with the Escobar play at third base and throw. So kind of hanging the pitcher out to dry a little bit here.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the slide rule, in a sense makes double plays easier to turn, but, the fact that the neighborhood rule is now being enforced, it's difficult to turn double plays. They've got to be hard hit balls exactly like that. So, your double plays don't come as often as they were coming. So you really, you have to turn them.
Carlos has popped to short, single, double, driven in a run, scored a run. He's walked as well. He just continues. The thing about Carlos Beltran that you love when you talk about, his immortality with regard to the career he's had is how much he gives back to Puerto Rico, how much that Carlos Beltran Academy is a big part of the young people down there and an educational piece. As he gives that one a ride, he's taking everyone to school. Take a ride on that school bus. Carlos with the home run. 16 on the year.
It's just like yesterday where you make a mistake and look what happens. You pay for it. I mean, it doesn't always happen like this. So many mistakes that are made by teams, you go without paying for them, but that is, that one just hurts. Really, really hurts. They're supposed to be out of this inning, and another 2 more tacked on. So, this game is now entirely out of reach. And, just a moment ago, this game was, still a little bit in reach.
Yeah, and that wasn't a good pitch. I mean, it was a changeup low in the zone. So you don't want to excuse the pitcher for that, but you're right. The inning should have been over. He should have been out of this inning, back in the dugout. And instead, he's able to leave that hanging changeup for the Beltran to crush it in left field stands.
Socha called all the Angels infield.
I noticed that.
For a little chat. I mean, I watched that game yesterday, and it looked like he was getting ready to explode. He's not, a manager that shows up his players or shows much emotion, on the field. But I would imagine that he's had some words for his team. I don't know his managerial style. There are some managers that every time there's a crisis, they want to talk to the players, and then there are other managers that. They're the same during batting practice, whether they win 10-0 or they lose 10-0, because they've seen so many games that they're just unmoved by the day-to-day changes and fortune.
We talked about this earlier in our webcast, our stream of this game, where Carlos Beltran fits in with switch hitters in extra base hits in the history of the game.
He's 16 home runs he's got now. He's on pace to hit 30 homers, which is wildly impressive at his age. And we talked about what happens if the Yankees fall out of contention and maybe they trade the bullpen. Somebody's going to give you something for Carlos Beltran, right? And that's got Zach Wheeler a couple years ago. I don't know if you get a prospect like that since he's a couple years older, but somebody will give you something good. He'd fit in really well as a DH, like Anthony said, with Cleveland, maybe Chicago, Kansas City. I don't think they'll have any trouble finding takers for Beltran if it comes to that.
If it comes to that, that is the million-dollar question. Sure. I mean, has the game changed so much that the Yankees are sellers? I mean, it doesn't seem plausible, but you never know.
Well, they'll never tear it down. Like, they'll never blow it up or rebuild, but to get rid of, one guy near the end of his contract, I could see that. But they have actually been playing reasonably well the last week, so right now I don't even think it's something they're thinking about.
The reason it isn't implausible is because, people thought, will the Yankees ever be outspent? And, seeing how well the Rays have done in that division, the Yankees have realized, look, it's not, necessarily what you need to do to win is to, blow up the bank and sort of go into one of those trading deadline, spending sprees that might not do anything for you.
9 home runs for the Yankees this series, by the way. I don't know if that says more about the Yankee bats or the Angels pitching, but it's exactly what this New York club needed.
Yolis Guerra comes on out of the bullpen, the right-hander for the 5th time. Drops a changeup in there at 81 miles an hour.
It's a changeup with forkball action. That is...
It's a big extension, too. 7-4. He got out front of that thing. Actually made the changeup appear harder. Big curveball, 12-6, old-fashioned roundhouse.
Now, what's the one thing you know about Yolis Guerra? There's only one right answer to this. Anybody? Was a big part of the Johan Santana trade all those years ago. And that was, 7 years ago? He went from the Mets to the Twins for Johan Santana, and he was a Rule 5 pick this winter from Pittsburgh.
You know what I know? He's got some pretty good secondary stuff. That's the one thing I know.
Filthy.
I also know he was part of that Santana trade.
Now you're there.
All right. Jim Callis always takes a journey with young players to the major leagues. Jim, this time with a little reflectiveness as he takes a look back on Carlos Beltran.
Though he's been one of the finest all-around players of his generation, Carlos Beltran got off to a very slow start in pro ball after signing with the Kansas City Royals as a second-round pick in 1995. In 1997, his third year in pro ball, he was in high Class A. He hit just .229 with 11 homers. And there's some question as to whether his considerable tools would ever translate into skills. The light switch flipped on for him in 1998. His pitch recognition was better. He controlled the strike zone better. His power started to come. He shot from high Class A to the big leagues in 1998 by the end of the year. 1999, he was Rookie of the Year, and pretty much the Carlos Beltran we've all come to know and appreciate. He's gone on to become an 8-time All-Star. By the time all is said and done, he'll have 400-plus homers and 300-plus steals in the big leagues. Gold Glove center fielder, standout performer in the postseason. I think he's got all kinds of credentials for Cooperstown, and we'll have to see if the writers vote him in. But you would not have necessarily known that Carlos Beltran was going to become this type of player if you saw him in the first 3 seasons of his career. He had the tools, but the performance wasn't there yet. But then it just turned for him very, very quickly.
And just to finish the thought we were having on the personal side of Carlos Beltran Academy, of its 15 graduates in the class of 2015, 39 of his graduates went on to head to college, play college baseball. So there's a diversity to the man, there's a humanity to the man, there's a community effort to the man, which makes you like him even more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As Muhammad Ali leaves, you know, a lot of people have been remarking that there isn't really anyone picking up that slack. You know, Carlos Beltran obviously has been really, really great ambassador to the game, and it's really great to see him do so well as he's, you know, getting up there in age.
Saw Aaron Hicks take over for Carlos Beltran. We see Kirby Yates, the Hawaiian native, quite a bit. He's had a nice year. The bridge, Kirby Yates is, but he may be the final journey in this one. 23rd appearance, 3.68 ERA. Opponents hitting just 200 against Kirby Yates. Remind us of the stuff of Kirby Yates.
Yeah, Kirby Yates is mostly a four-seam slider kind of guy. Purchased by the Yankees for just $78,000 after the Indians DFA'd him. So it kind of goes to show you can really find relievers just about anywhere, even walking the streets. You can find probably a reliever. But yeah, Kirby Yates mostly with the four-seam slider. Have to show a knuckle curve every now and then. Four-seamer has decent spin, and it gets up to 94 miles an hour. He's been a pretty decent arm in the middle of innings there.
You know, GMs have lost their jobs by saying just that. You can find relievers anywhere.
Oh, you can find some relievers anywhere, but...
There were many a GM that thought, I'll just take care of that piece last. Now, obviously, the Yankees didn't do it. Our T-Mobile greater coverage cam from behind home plate. We got to grab that baseball. Get that rock before we can get rolling. Not to say the Yankees did it. They addressed with 3 huge arms and over the last couple of years in the back of their pen.
Yeah. Your fringe relievers are evolving a lot. I mean, every year, really. I mean, it's... You see a guy, there was a friend of mine, Robert Coelho, who, you know, he all of a sudden learned how to throw a third pitch that he never had. And, you know, he gets called up and all of a sudden he's the Angels' best reliever. So these guys are, you know, evolving and then, you know, losing it and going through these cycles in which they're, you know, super valuable to their teams, and then other times where they're not valuable and they're getting designated for assignment and they land somewhere else, and you know they scramble to put it back together the next year. It's a really interesting process for relievers.
Robert Coelho with the fork ball, if I remember correctly.
Absolutely.
Right? That's right. I love the fork ball. You don't see that enough.
Yeah. I mean, you know, the year before he had that great year, I played with him, and you know, he wasn't really, I watched a lot of his games from center field, and he wasn't really featuring anything that was getting guys out, no out pitch. And then all of a sudden, he figures it out, and, you know, you have an entirely new asset in the same body.
Well, Yates gets good velocity, and it's not even a high arm angle, using a ton of leverage.
Yeah, 93, 94 so far on those fastballs, which that'll certainly play, and he gets above average spin on them. And we haven't really talked about what spin means yet tonight. So, you know, high spin is really good because it allows on a fastball anyway to defy gravity for slightly longer than you'd think. It's what you call a rising fastball, and it never really rises. It just doesn't fall as fast as the hitter might expect. So if you have high spin on a fastball, the hitter will swing under it. Maybe that's a strikeout. Maybe that's a pop-up, which is essentially a strikeout. And low spin's good too. Real low spin sinks get you grounders. Middle of the road spin is where you get into trouble, and that's really the Nathan Eovaldi story. Throws hard, but doesn't have impressive spin either way, so it's straight, and it gets hit real hard, as we saw earlier tonight.
It's a really big pitch right there, you know? Don't need any base runners at this point. Just got to challenge everybody, go after every hitter.
And he does. His team's up 12-5. Tonight might be a sleepless night for Barnegat, New Jersey left-hander Jason Groom, for Kansas native Riley Pint, a couple of big pitchers that may hear their name called early. Guys that possess the skills of Yates and then some.
Who's going number 1 tomorrow, Darren? We need you on the record.
A.J. Puck,
Kind of what I thought you were going to say.
A.J. Puck, Florida, the pride of Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Made his way down to Florida. Carlos Perez has an 0-1 count.
Cedar Rapids is a minor league stop that I bet half the guys on this field have been through. What does this number 1 pick feature?
A.J. Puck?
Yes.
He features a more dependable arm with regard to seasoning. He has the same skill set as a Jason Groom, who may be a higher ceiling arm, a left-hander out of high school, and a New Jersey native who's a Vanderbilt commit. But A.J. Puck's been doing it in college. He's been doing it for several years, and I think in the end, you get really excited about talented high school arms, and then you usually pick the college pitcher.
It may seem like the 4 runs in the bottom of the 7th there were just kind of piling on, but they're actually kind of important because it really allows the Yankees to give that big 3 the whole night off, unless things go terribly badly here. You don't have to go to Miller or Betances or Chapman, and I wouldn't expect to see any of them. It means you can get by with Kirby Yates, and I bet you we're going to see Nick Goody, or we're going to see Richard Blyer. You know, the kind of arms who can soak up these innings and give those guys a night off, and maybe you need them tomorrow, they're all ready to go. That's really big for the Yankees.
Would you rather see Goody or Blyer?
I'd rather see Blyer just because I've seen Nick Goody pitch and I've never seen Richard Blyer pitch.
All right, breaking ball, it's served into left field. That's a base hit for Perez.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Joe Madden used to call them jug runs for jugular, and the reason that you want those, I mean, look, if the next guy steps up, he hits a 2-run homer, nothing's hurt. You don't have to get Aroldis Chapman up. You know, you give him another day of rest. But, you know, without those 2 extra runs, another 2-run home run, now you're in a save situation. You've got to get guys up. And, you know, getting guys up is just as bad as putting them in.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think people don't realize that. You know, it's like if you don't see them in the game, well, they didn't pitch, they had their feet up in the bullpen. Not necessarily true if you're up and down getting yourself warm. And if you can really just say, don't even put your spikes on, you know, just stay on the side and stay out of the way and just take a breath. I mean, that's really big for the Yankees because that's the strength of their team, without a doubt.
Gregorio Petit would certainly love to add here. I mean, auditioning to stay, to stick around and you know, be useful once Simmons comes back.
And Simmons is either just started or is just about to start a rehab assignment. Should be back maybe by this weekend if things go well. So you're right. Petit has to prove. Obviously, he won't be the starting shortstop, but that he deserves to stick around as a utility infielder. He's made a pretty decent impression.
Yeah, I mean, these are the storylines that are beyond the scorebook. I mean, obviously, you know, you look at this game, it looks like it could be over, but this is, you know, this is huge. There's a lot on the line here. Kirby Yates, you know, trying to protect that ERA as you know, pitchers do when, you know, in times like these that are not really about the team. You know, it's a 7-run game. He's just picking up innings for his team, but, you know, that ERA is very, very precious. So a lot at stake, even though there's nothing at stake.
There's always a lot at stake.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this game fun. It still is the ultimate team, yet one-on-one sport. It's tennis right now, if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Singles, these 2 guys. And that's an ace.
That's a nice pitch, but it's probably a pitch Petit wishes he went after, huh?
That's knowing the situation, you know. You're at the visiting park. It's a 7-run game. Borderline pitch is probably going to be a strike right there.
What do we think? That was a strike, no? A little off?
It looked like a strike to me.
Yeah.
Pretty good pitch. Well, you're right, on the fringes, out on the
Petit
black.
didn't think so.
But too close to take.
He'll be all right.
With 2 strikes.
He'll be all right. To the right side. Escobar not waiting around.
Beautiful piece of hitting.
Tell us why. You've been in the box many times in these situations. Why is that beautiful?
I mean, that's a ball, you know, coming in on his hands, and he's staying inside the ball and just, you know, has the confidence to stay with it and know that that approach will work and get a hit. I mean, a lot of players, it's sort of that same alligator arm sort of thing when you are not quite confident that your barrel is going to get to it. You pull off, you do something, you end up making bad contact, breaking the bat, something like that. He just stayed with the same swing, even though that ball was running in on him, and, you know, put a good swing on that ball, hit that ball pretty hard the other way.
What was the exit feel on that one, Mike?
I can tell you that. 90, let's call it 93 miles an hour.
All right. Not so bad for a let it travel deep at his kneecaps kind of jam shot. Hard. That's a hard jam shot. This man who's not afraid to get jammed.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got good bat speed and good technique, when a guy is throwing, you know, 95, you can commit to that approach. And even if that ball's in on your hands, you can shoot it the other way. I mean, Derek Jeter basically, you know, became the most iconic, you know, player of our generation for basically having that precise skill. He could do that at will, and that's what made him so dangerous. He could basically just get on base at any time because of that skill.
Our T-Mobile greater coverage cam from our high third position. So wait a minute. You heard the crowd chanting, right? Derek Jeter, because it's a 12-5 game. Did they put Derek Jeter's name in your head, or were you already thinking of Derek letting it travel? Did they help you have that thought?
Well, every time, you know.
Did you hear them just now?
It's a funny thing because every time I see a guy hit the ball the other way, I think of Derek Jeter. I mean, he did it more than almost anyone. And so it's always in my head. I didn't hear anybody saying.
They were chanting. Crowd was chanting. 12-5. 12-5. Big lead. Either big lead or big deficit. Is when you hear the random cheer. I heard it. We have great audio on MLB Plus.
So this isn't a big deal, really, right here. I mean, he hits a home run. It's still not really a big deal.
I love that name that Joe gave it, Jug Runs.
Yeah, that's great. I never heard that before, but.
Good fastball beat him that time.
That was his pitch.
Goes a long way in resting everybody up, you know?
Talking about Cole hitting the ball hard this year as he's dealing with that big shift. Makes a velocity of 100 or more 40 times, and add to that tonight's effort.
Yeah, and balls that go over 100 miles an hour at any launch angle. Batting average across the league is something like 615. Now, you can also read that as 61% of the time it becomes a hit. So it's really an impressive thing to do.
Tried to roll a breaking ball through to the right side. They were ready for that. There's a 4-3 ground out. Well, if you're just joining us, we'll walk you through, all three of us will walk you through our StatCast game recap powered by Amazon Web Services. We start with Gregorio Petit's home run to get things going.
102 miles an hour off the bat, but what's really important there is the 25-degree launch angle, as we say a lot. 25 to 30 is really that sweet spot for home runs, and it's exactly what he did. Now, when you see here on Jared Weaver, this pitch, you know, obviously it's going to be a nice pitch. It was actually a strikeout.
Weaver striking out Parmalee. Valde striking out Albert Pujols. See the fingers spread on that diving, dumping.
That's what he wanted all. Yeah, that's the pitch he wants all the time. As he gets older, he'll get better at being more efficient with the action on that pitch.
3D look at the Ellsbury home run. Jacoby knocked that one over the boards in the third inning. And Gardner base hit to left field, and we've got a throw as well here.
At 96 miles an hour on a throw is really impressive. Yeah.
Could have been an out, could have been a different
Almost
game.
should have been an out.
How about this scalded baseball?
That's his second hardest hit of the season, his fourth hardest of the StatCast era. 115 miles an hour is an absolute laser beam off the bat. And here's our hero of the night, Chris Parmelee. Chris Parmelee, of all the guys, is going to be the star of the night. There's that launch angle between 25 and 30 again, right down the line to right field at Yankee Stadium. It's just about perfect for a left-handed batter.
Here's the go-ahead double, and the Yankees added on after this one in the sixth.
A lot of triple-digit exit velocity tonight, right? When we saw lasers all over the place for both sides. You might think this is the same Chris Parmelee home run, but it's not. A little more to center field, 108 miles an hour off the bat. Big night for Chris Parmelee.
Chicken parm or veal parm? Which one do you like better?
Chicken.
Eggplant
Absolutely.
parm is also a possibility.
Never eggplant parm.
Never eggplant.
Never.
Tonight it's Chris Parm.
I feel like chicken have a better life than veal, so I'll go with chicken parm.
Opining. I like it. I like your reasoning.
Mr. Parmelee's trying to be somebody.
And have a better life.
And have a better life.
There you go.
Have a better
just
life.
Weave it right back in.
It's possible we're watching the high point of Chris Parmelee's entire career tonight. I mean, 2 home runs at Yankee Stadium? It's the dream.
He may get some opportunities to do that again as Brian McCann leads things off. He singled in a pair in the 6th inning. And guess where he hit it, folks, if you've just logged on? You think he pulled it really hard to the right side? He didn't. He went the other way.
You can see how much Guerra really loves his off-speed stuff. I mean, he is down 7 runs, and the first 2 pitches that he's thrown are off-speed pitches. I mean,
he's about 50-50 with the fastball and the changeup.
Yeah.
He doesn't really favor one over the other, but you're right. He's start off with that changeup.
See, he hit that one, a rocket. But with the big shift, he wasn't rewarded like going the other way.
It's just a strange game. Crushes that ball, and Gardner hits that 10 hopper about 80 miles an hour, and it's 4 points.
He actually got, I didn't think it was, but got almost 100 miles an hour on that ball.
There you go.
That ball's hit hard.
Tons of hard contact tonight.
26-year-old Starlin Castro takes a changeup that dives low. Oh for 4. And then Ryan was part of that trade in December of 15 that brought him over. And dies at home plate again.
Yeah, it's a nice changeup. He's an interesting guy. He's been around for a while. Obviously, was a highly thought of prospect many years ago, but got Rule 5'd from Pittsburgh to the Angels. So he's really had a struggle to stay in the bigs.
Oh, the extension there. Hit hard, base hit left field. Well, I don't know if there's anybody with an 0 for now. Torres reached on an error, so I guess that's your only 0 for. Because Castro's got himself a hit. He's 1 for 5.
Look at all the guys with multiple hits. Right? Ellsbury with 2, Gardner and Beltran with 3, Parmelee with 3, A-Rod with 2, up and down the lineup. I'm pretty sure I said the exact same thing for the Angels lineup too. I mean, that's the kind of night it's been. 28 hits so far.
It's a feel-good day. It's a feel-good day in the clubhouse when the pitchers, the pitchers are sad, and the position players, even on the losing team, they're not that sad.
Ref Snyder comes in to run. You see him out there. One in Seoul, South Korea. A very, very young age, was adopted and raised in the United States in Orange County, California. At 3 months old was adopted. Boy, was he a great all-around athlete in high school. Didi singled and scored.
Do you think Didi Gregorius can be the long-term solution for the Yankees? He's young, and he's a pretty good shortstop with a very good arm. Statcast can track shortstop throwing arms, and I believe he's second this year only to Danny Espinosa. The bat just really hasn't progressed like a lot of people thought it would.
I mean, he is the solution defensively. And look,
okay,
as soon as he does
Question
that,
answered.
it leads right into my answer. I mean, the thing is that if the Yankees were a team where Didi could hit ninth, make all the plays, and every once in a while chip in with that big base hit, things would be great. But that's not the type of team that the Yankees have. The Yankees don't really have a guy in their lineup that's slump-proof. Nobody's really slump-proof, but a guy like Miguel Cabrera, he doesn't have many bad months. Trout doesn't have very many bad months. The Yankees don't have guys like that. They have a pretty good team, but to count on Didi for offensive production, I don't think you're in a great spot.
Here he is. Tonight, the natural. Looks like a four-seam fastball.
I mean, as intuitive as becoming such a great shortstop is, for me, I definitely believe that he has the ability to improve and really become an asset offensively. I mean, obviously, he's become such a talented young shortstop, and that's stuff that he did. He got crossed up there.
Yeah, they did get crossed up. He'd be a guy, I think, that I would fear moving. I would fear giving up on. I mean, if the offense was just deplorable, which it's not. And I think, to your point, I think they hoped that they had built that kind of team. I think they hoped that with McCann and Ellsbury and maybe an Alex Rodriguez who finds one last time and one more. I think they hoped that they wouldn't have to count on Buffalo because I think, what do the numbers say? I mean, obviously, this is a good defense. What your eyes tell you he's a good defensive shortstop, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, for the guys that really, become sort of like a cut above the rest, they're getting great instruction, but a lot of that's intuitive. They're learning that on their own, and that's why I believe that, maybe in a year or 2 years, he could be a guy that could be really, really good. Right now, he's just holding his own.
Parmalee is trying to catch Mark Teixeira with regard to that home run race. He's doing everything he can. A race for first baseman and a tallies of homers. He's got 2.
Slight plate appearance difference.
Mark has 3. Chris has 4 plate appearances. Now there's the Ackleys and the Ref Snyders, and McCann's had a whack at it over at first. He took a whack at that one. It's inside.
There have been 5 home runs by Yankee first basemen this season. 3 of them came from Teixeira over the first 2 months. 2 of them came from Parmalee in the last 90 minutes. And that's great for Chris Parmalee, it really is. It says a lot about the Yankee first base situation, I think. But I think that's fascinating. I mean, Chris Parmalee is going to be the best Yankee first baseman this year. Look at the plate appearances. 2 for 4. Teixeira was 3 for 177. I love that. More than the Yankee fans do, guys.
Is that the graphic of the night?
That's my favorite of the night.
It's a good graphic.
Yeah.
All the research you come up with, all the science, Mike, all the wonderful numbers that we educate people with. And then it's an add-on graphic that might break the tape as the award winner.
We can thank Chris Parmalee for that.
All right, so Ronald Torres does not have a hit.
Ronald Torres, 23 years old, turns 24 in September. This is his 7th organization rating. From the Reds and then the Cubs and the Astros, Jays, Dodgers, Yankees, Angels, back to the Yankees. That's a lot of teams for a guy that young. Like a lot. He hasn't been in the big leagues, obviously, with all of them. But that is a lot of teams.
So interesting.
I guess it means
in his first 9 at bats as a Yankee.
Yeah, I guess it means somebody always wants you. But I guess it also means that nobody values you enough to hang on to you at all costs.
Mm-hmm.
So well traveled at 23.
So rare.
3.
So rare.
And went 6 for 9 to start things. 6-year minor leaguer, so he signed as a teen, obviously. A couple of base runners out there for him. Snyder and Gregorius. Ref Snyder worth the discussion in his own right out there at third. We touched a little bit on his family history and winning a College World Series for Andy Lopez in 2012 at Arizona. Played a little first because everyone plays first if they can to help the Yanks out. He never really played that. So helping out where he can, and some weather returning.
Yeah, Guerra stepping off there. He's almost getting blown over by the wind.
We have many walls separating us from the outside, so this is our connection right now.
Yeah, on Ref Snyder, if I'm not mistaken, his first pro game at first base ever was last week in the big leagues.
It's on the outside corner. Has journeyed his way through the minor leagues. You're exactly right.
It happens more than people think.
What are you going to say if they ask you?
The first, you're actually told that. Somebody always says that every spring training. If somebody comes up to you and asks you if you can play a position, you lie.
Over the top of that changeup, and down he goes. 3 outs to get and a Yankees victory, and looking to continue what has been about a half-decade nice run over the Angels. They lead it by a score of 12-5. A lot of fun tonight with this MLB Plus and this StatCast production, but a lot of fun with regard to StatCast earlier today as well. Let's take a look.
2 on the way. And it's hit towards center field. Hamilton charging. Hamilton charging. Hamilton dives, and Billy got it. Oh, I hope he's not hurt. He may have hurt his shoulder. He's slow to get up out there. He sprinted in, dove for that ball, took it right off the top of the grass.
Man, did he cover some territory right there.
I'll tell you what, there's not many center fielders that can get to that ball at all.
I don't think there are many center fielders that even have a chance to dive for it.
It's this one hard up the middle and through into center field, a base hit. Castro being waved. Desmond's got that strong arm. The throw to the plate in time. And Castro gunned down by Ian Desmond. It wasn't close.
That looked like Leonis Martin throwing in center field. Wow, you talk about a long-range throw. That ball was hit hard by Altuve, which means Desmond is not going to charge it very much and get it close to home plate, which makes the throw that much longer.
So you know what's interesting there, because we talked about him earlier, and they want him back in that dugout as Andrelton Simmons. When you see what Ian Desmond did now, Desmond never became as polished as Andrelton Simmons did. He did some spectacular things at short, but he was inconsistent. But that's that athlete. You know, we talked about Simmons, what a great athlete he is. He's more polished shortstop, but what an athletic play there by Desmond.
Desmond has that rocket arm, and we tracked last year the shortstop throwing arms. He was #1. He had the hardest throwing arm by any shortstop. Now, as you said, made a lot of mistakes, had a lot of errors. Maybe he wasn't his best home, and I think he's really taken the center field well. He's hitting too. That's really been a nice pickup for Texas.
Nick Goody is ready to roll.
Sorry, could see his hitting improve a little bit with that decreased pressure from the defensive end, you know?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Goody, the right-hander out of LSU. Yankees 6th round pick in 2012. What do we know about his stuff, Mike?
Nick Goody is another one of these guys who really is, four-seam and slider, right? And you can see right here, change up every now and then, but four-seam and slider. It gets a lot of strikeouts. In the minor leagues, almost 200 strikeouts in 134 innings. So far this year in the big leagues, 14 innings pitched, 15 strikeouts, 4 walks, and the slider is really his strikeout pitch. A lot of these guys, without elite velocity, they're limited because they don't have a ton of pitches, but this is good enough to get by, especially when you're pitching, when you're up by 7 runs. So he's a decent enough pitcher in the middle of that bullpen, and the slider is his best pitch.
Good on you getting that first pitch strike, because you know that Mike Trout is not allowed to swing at that pitch. Got to get a strike there. If you want to get out of this at bat without an earned run from a solo shot, you gotta get a first pitch strike there.
So he gets to 0-2, and he's gotten to 0-2 28.9% of the time, well above his average and league average, and that's part of his success this year. It's hard to get to 0-2 against this guy, though. It's hard to get him out even at 0-2, though. These are the at-bats, obviously, where I, to be honest with you, respect Major League hitters the most.
These are the at-bats. They say don't give up these at-bats. Do not let the game situation dictate the way that you regard these at-bats. This is all going on your baseball card, and this is all adding to your muscle memory. The last thing that you want to do here is just have a bad at-bat and carry you into the next game.
So the cynic says, obviously, they make a very good living. That's what they're supposed to do. Look, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a lawyer, whether you're a taxi cab driver, there are times later in your work day, in your work week, when you've worked several weeks in a row where, trust me, you're not perfect and I'm not perfect. We're still human beings. And this is one of those times where no matter what you're teaching a 6th grade class and it's last couple of days of school and you're tired, and these are the kind of games where, to me, I don't care what you're making. It'd be, hard to have that kind of focus, but these guys like Mike Trout do.
I mean, nobody's going to say, Mike Trout could have a bad at-bat here, and nobody's going to say anything to him. Goody can give up a home run here, nobody's going to say anything to him. But you can see how careful he's being with Mike Trout. I mean, after getting 0-2, he's missed terribly twice.
Look at this. Trout crushes it to right center field. Over the bullpen.
Guess we'll see if you're right. Nobody.
Wow.
You know what? That's better, honestly. It's probably better than walking him. You're up by 7 runs. Your teammates want nothing more than for you to throw strikes. And if the best hitter in the world happens to crush one at 110 miles an hour off you, it's a little bit of so be it in there.
Ooh, baby, it went in 92 and went out 110. Is that right? 110?
110 is exactly right. We'll see in a second. Yeah, 110 at a 26.5-degree launch angle. So right in that sweet spot, 416 feet. And I believe, that's not his hardest hit ball of the day.
That's right.
Because he had the 114 earlier, or 115 earlier, and he actually had 2 at 109 today. That one and a single earlier. Mike Trout, good at baseball.
Very, very good at baseball.
Good at focusing. Albert
Did you?
Pujols. He drives his to deep left field. Albert says, kid, I didn't get it out of here. Got it off the end of the bat, just a touch.
I mean, we've just seen that. We've seen that shot so many times of Albert Pujols, that beautiful swing, that trajectory. We're just so used to seeing it go 40 seats deep.
Unbelievable. You think about what Albert has played with Mike Trout and the psychology of being a legend, and you're Albert Pujols and then seeing a legend come along right alongside you. Don't kid yourself, right? I mean, it makes Albert better, as much as he can get better, right?
Absolutely.
He sees the kid do that. Doesn't that zone him in even more for his at-bat?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's great. I mean, for Angels fans, I mean, this obviously is not, the season is not going the way that they would like. The last few years have not been going the way that they like, but, they absolutely have the treat of getting to watch this guy play.
I'm one of those fans, so you're exactly right. Waited till the 9th inning to say it. Breaking ball swung on and missed.
Personally, I'm biased in favor of kids named Mike from New Jersey because I think they're all awesome. But
all right, Mike from New Jersey. Here it is.
Easy swing.
Those numbers look pretty good on the pitch, but it's also about location. And that pitch was, middle, a little bit to the outside of the plate. I mean, Mike Trout is just going to destroy that ball, and he crushed it. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Look at this. 109.8. He had 3 balls tonight at 109 or higher, and in that 25 to 30 happy zone launch angle, no question about that. He is unreal at the plate.
StatCast replay powered by Amazon Web Services, and this is history. The Yankees defeat the Angels by a score of 12-6. And in a week in which it's Hope Week for the Yankees, in which they give back so much to the community, and they're creating just a little bit of hope. It certainly looked like they were a team that was a little bit younger and a lot more offensive than the aging team.
Soak it in, Mr. Parmalee.
31 hits. 31 hits we saw tonight. And it doesn't even seem like that many, but then you kind of think back and you're like, oh yeah, 109 miles an hour, 114 miles an hour, this shot, that shot, Parmalee home run, Trout's home run, Ellsbury's home run.